Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the movie of What If Issei and Koneko Were in Love. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Koneko-chan, even though I have a legendary dragon in my body, I can't do everything. If I had been stronger in those times for Asia and Butchu, if I had sacrificed my whole body for more power, they would not have had such sad experiences. I am a useless and pitiful demon. Even when the previous Sekyuteis reached balance breaker in a short time, I don't know how many months it will take for me. I am clear about what a disappointment I am to everyone. To Drag, to Butchu. I know it from the beginning. Such power is a waste in me because I am useless. That's why I can't do everything for you, Koneko-chan. But, despite all that, I will be your shield. If you lose control of your Nekomata power, I will stop you, even if I die in vain or in the attempt. Since I cannot use this power for myself, even if I do not wish to do so, I can give it to my friends. Even if your sister returns, I will do my best to save you. Just remember that whenever you need me, I'll be there. Koneko Taoju opened her eyes, showing small tears that soon disappeared with the sheet that covered her. Out of the corner of her eye, she observed how everyone looked exhausted, even sleeping standing up. She got up from the couch, quickly realizing that she had fallen asleep at some point and someone was kind enough to watch over her. "I'm so tired," mumbled a small blonde-haired girl walking towards the sofa after appearing in a magic circle at a sluggish pace and shuffling her feet until she crashed into it. Issei-san rambled as she quickly fell asleep with her face slowly sinking into the seat. The Nekomata blushes, not to be ignored, since she recognizes that was caught in the same way Asia slept several times by the boy who invaded her thoughts in the past few days. Fu. Even though he can now go from the magic circles, he still prefers to go on foot. I wonder how much punishment he can endure until he begs me for mercy. Akino unveils modestly and wickedly while serving tea elegantly, managing to revive Rias, who was falling asleep at her desk, wiped off the trace of saliva and hurriedly exclaimed, "Akino, Issei is mine." The redhead scolded her with a blush, apparently going through an imaginative process that was not favored by the girl's comments. Despite the scolding, she laughs and dismisses the situation. Kiba smiles in amusement, denoting being very exhausted by nodding his head several times, but which by his mettle and gentlemanly bearing he never lets on as he sits in the armchairs waiting for any possible order from Rias. Zenobia, on the other hand, snores noisily in the other part of the room, overwhelming little Gasper who occasionally fears that she will wake up and blame him for the noise. If you lose control of your power, Nekomata, I will stop you, even if I die in vain or in the attempt. Since I cannot use this power for myself, even if I do not wish to, I can give it to my friends. Even if your sister returns, I will do my best to save you. Just remember that whenever you need me, I'll be there. Koneko can't help but remember those words suddenly and inevitably blushes as her heart feels just as it did at that moment, which unleashes in her that unbridled passion that has been overwhelming her since the past few days. And just as her heart ravishes, her expression lights up when the front door opens and from the hallway of the club she hears the voice of a Don Juan approaching. "For fuck's sake, the chain broke. Remind me not to bike on Storm Week." What a Don Juan, by the way. The girl even loses interest, despite the fact that she finds it embarrassing and hilarious how her companion makes his way into the room and all eyes go to him. "Hey, guys, the contract went well and so, yeah, this is the report." The guy had come in several ways: 1. Soaking wet. 2. Angry. 3. Shirtless and full of grease on his arms and face. 4. With a strange grease in his hands that appeared to be what was once a report of a splendid service by a contractor. No doubt Issei has strange habits when it comes to going about fulfilling his contra. Oh, he has a splendid body. Koneko shrank in place as her embarrassed gaze sidelong met that of her companions, who were a bit more and blinded by the boy. Akino was licking her lips as her teapot shook from a flick of the wrist that Koneko knew must refer to some masochistic act of the kind the hybrid was so fond of. Rias looked like she would fall off her desk as she stood practically on top of him while looking at the boy with dedication and deep analysis. She wasn't even going to describe how she saw him, because she didn't feel ready to even think about it right now. "Excellent work, Issei. You can rest," complimented the redhead with a perhaps too innocent smile as her gaze screamed something else towards the brown who smiled as if it was nothing and decided to rest. "Oh, okay. I'll go to sleep for a while. Let me know when we're leaving," asked the boy who walked calmly towards the section of curtains they had made to rest. "Okay, thank you, Koneko-chan." And she can't help but smile at the sight of him, pleased by her kindness, a little quizzical at when he looked at her full of fear at the wake-up call. Now that he thought about it, this had never been new and, except with Asia or Rias, Issei had often been terrified, afraid. For some reason she didn't understand, he was always afraid when he was called or asked for something, as long as it was a woman, of course. It was more than clear that there was something wrong with him in front of women. He always used to be lewd and even a jerk, but she never expected to believe that this had any great significance. Then an epiphany came over her as she remembered the black feathers flying over a tearful Issei, and the regret that Asia had died. Koneko pauses, horrified. Her mistress explained to her that a fallen one had taunted him before killing him, the same one she remembered seeing long ago, but she had never set the example of what that fallen had done before that. Why, how, Issei could have it all with his power and the title of Sekryude. Even in the face of possible requests for indecent acts with every woman there is, he has never laid a finger on anyone. Even Asia, whom he adores and takes care of. He is afraid of women. That was her conclusion that he demonstrated, at least emotionally. A clear example of this would be the fact that he could never accept and let go of what happened to him with Rainier. He despises Asia as his sister, even though she does everything that one wouldn't do, and he always adores Riaz as his master and as a woman, even though she doesn't want that excessive adoration from him and seeks to have a relationship for more. She doesn't even remember when she got to the bathroom, but it doesn't take her long to grab 2 towels as her expression of deep shock continues to accompany her until she turns back to him. She doesn't even care that Riaz, Akino and even Gasper noticed her expression. Pulling back the curtains and poorly observing the place, Koneko understands that her master created this place in order to rest with Issei, to always have a romantic moment. A moment that never came due to the boy's ignorance and the fact that she made it clear that everyone could use it. The only time she saw Issei and Kiba inside, she swore they were both able to see the intentions of the place for a moment and never crossed words inside again. So, Issei understood everything and feigned ignorance in order to not perceive what the women around him were doing, so he wouldn't be mortified of any possible rejection that would hurt him again. Koneko is greatly saddened to see the quiet dragon snoring on the couch as if nothing bad happened, the case being true, except for his state of mind, which before her finally opens up to understand the boy's problems. Issei-senpai, she murmurs sadly as her Nekomata ears flop forward, denoting her state of mind, approaching and kneeling on the couch beside him, drying the boy's hair with dedication. You've been in so much pain. He had given so much for others, only to forget himself. If that didn't show how humble and kind he was, despite having power beyond imagination, then one was totally blind. Her disappointment at the realization that no one has noticed the boy's problem is what hits her the hardest. He has been able to conceal it, and she only realized it by finally relating a frightened look that he has been learning to conceal. And by the time she realizes it, she falls asleep in his lap, promising in small tears to be the one to take care of him until he can take the necessary step. A month later, Koneko opens her eyes, noticing that she is in her room. She smiles at the sun beating down on her face, knowing perfectly well that the slight discomfort it was causing her was nothing, as the day would be excellent. Somehow she doesn't hear any chaos in the hallway, which of course is the fault of Riaz and Akino fighting over Issei. But for that she is responsible, of course. And just as she expected, Issei was on his way to the bathroom after running away from the fights between the two of them. Asia, to her good fortune, had gone to a Pillamata with her friends, something that solved the main hindrance of her day-to-day life. Issei Naya, good morning, she greets appearing behind him, making him smile slightly as he notices her by habit. Koneko-chan, good morning. I hope Akino-san and Butchu didn't wake you up with their fights. He murmurs between relieved and worried. She smiles and approaches him, invading his personal space and taking his arm calmly as she guides him to the bathroom. It wasn't like that this time. Issei Naya motivates me to wake up every day, she confesses happily, embarrassing the boy. Again with that, he commented nervously, between a worried and dismissive tone. Koneko-chan, I seriously wonder if these jokes aren't going a bit far. It's not a joke. I love you, Issei Naya. Thanks to you I accepted my nature and learned to accept you as you are. A kind and caring pervert, she declares seriously, getting him to look her in the eye with every sentence, totally embarrassing him. No matter how many times I have to repeat it, I will always remind you. I know that only then will you be able to stop looking at me in any other way than as a companion or a friend. Why, you don't need to do that. The words embarrass the boy and he averts his gaze as she smiles to see that he is no longer struggling to deny her feelings or even to try to persuade them to romance someone else to be her promised Prince Charming. First, because she assured him that she already had him. Secondly, because he wasn't blue, he was red. Issei was so embarrassed that he couldn't talk to her for 2 hours without his smile hurting to modulate. Well, while we're at it, I guess I should. He tries, nervous of how to deal with the situation. Shall we take a bath together? And she interrupts, knocking the wind out of him as she tries to explain that he wanted the opposite, letting her use the bathroom so as not to inconvenience or annoy her. Wait, Koneko-chan, I'm not supposed to see you, he exclaims as he is pushed and covers his eyes as he sees her undressing. Nonsense, look at me all you want, she denied with complete assurance, smiling in amusement. To put in context, Koneko has been aware of Issei's emotional problem and devoted herself to studying him and helping him ever since, being by his side. Results, she discovered that Asia ended up being his emotional shield to the traumas he had and that she was, apart from Riaz, of the girls he fell in love with. It was easy to become closer to the blonde and for her to tell her insecurities, something that Koneko knew how to take advantage of to strengthen herself so she could become closer to the boy. It seemed that the blonde sensed about Rainier as she also seemed to have that thorn still in his heart. That made her realize that both of them had suffered a lot because of her, and Issei paid the highest price by blocking his concept of love from his brain. a price enough to be able to avenge Asia and bring her back from the dead. Since that moment, Koneko has dedicated herself effusively to be the second shield that Issei needed and thus be able to repair his broken heart, which she had slowly achieved. Then she discovered the most beautiful side of the boy. He was an awkward lover with 1,000 dreams so honeyed and sweet that if he let out, not even those in the kendo club could endure without surrendering to the boy's kindly treats. Issei Naya, you've been taking better care of yourself. Your hair has stopped being greasy and I saw that you used the conditioner I left for you, she said as she scrubbed her soapy fingers through the boy's hair, who let himself be done with a blush and creamy shyness. I saw that you were trying so hard to take care of it for me that I didn't want your effort to be in vain, he confessed, chagrined, not realizing that her goal was that he could acquire healthy habits for his health. So you noticed that I cared about your hair, she commented, amused, getting him to cover his face with his hands out of embarrassment. This made her smile, glad for her undertaking. These small steps had been what brought her to this point. Breakfast is one of the most calm and peaceful times to be had in the Hayado household. Issei smiled happily as he watched his parents converse and joke with Rias and Akino, embarrassing them as much as possible at the suggestive jokes about their relationship with him. Koneko smiles as she notices that, taking advantage of everyone's moment of distraction. Issei Naya, here, you've got something. Did I get dirty again? And when she least expects it, a shocked expression adorns the red of Issei's cheeks as she sees how Koneko kissed the corner of her lips, quickly pulling away as she smiles happily and fondly at him. I already cleaned it. God, this guy will die soon and he thanks you that you were so kind and caring for bringing him the one responsible for it. Then, we'll be going. Thank you for everything. Take care of yourselves, and have a nice day. Issei's mother says goodbye in response to Ria's words. All paying attention to her allows Koneko to take Issei's little finger between her little finger, and Issei struggles not to blush or smile with unabashed happiness at those things he likes so much. Hey, Mom, don't you think Issei and Koneko-chan are pretty much together? Issei's father murmurs vaguely as he reads the newspaper, seemingly attentive to the gesture he didn't even seem to be able to have seen. She a while back asked me where it was that Issei left his scrapbook can. It seems she found out about it by talking to him, she said mysteriously, causing the man to smile quietly as he closed his eyes wistfully. I see, understood this one as he removed his glasses, rubbing his fingers against his eyes, left the newspaper on the table and stood up from the seat, looking at the wall with a soft smile as he remembered himself in many similar steps. It seems that pure love still exists nowadays. Issei has made some very good friends. That's a fact, she confirmed as she glanced sideways at a picture on the wall reminiscent of the couple's wedding. A tin of clippings was what was in charge of hiding the loving dreams of the Hayato family that for generations was always like this. The fact that Koneko knew about it said too much about their relationship. Issei yawned noisily as he wiped small tears from his eyes. The classes were really boring, but he was making the utmost effort not to fall asleep. He had promised Koneko, and thanks to her he was getting better at studying. He reached into his bag for his bento, blinking twice when he noticed that it was nowhere to be found inside. Desperation embraced him and he began to search more frantically, becoming noticeably overwhelmed as he realized he had forgotten it. As he watched everyone going to the cafeteria or settling in for lunch, he began to panic as he recognized that he must be going to the club with nothing. Koneko had prepared that bento for him and reminded him at every turn not to forget it. He covered his face with both arms as he hid in his desk. Koneko would find out what happened and be angry. Most likely she would not forgive such a thing and would rage, humiliate him to finally declare that she would hate him and never love him. Issei-senpai. He looked up, denoting his sick look from stress and fear, meeting an earnest Koneko who had in front of him a package. The bento, he acknowledged as he wiped tears and sweat from his face. You forgot it at home, she reminded him, saddened by his appearance. Even when I told you repeatedly, I should have expected that you might forget. I'm sorry, Issei-senpai. As the people present were thrown off by Kaneko's statement at the apparent friendship with the boy, Zenovia approached earnestly. If you forgot your bento, we could share mine, Issei. You can ask me for whatever you need anytime. Thank you, Zenovia, Koneko-chan. He thanked with some feigned calmness that the white-haired one knew to notice. So, Koneko-chan, Kuryu suddenly commented next to the three of them, managing to make them notice everyone's gazes on them. Do you two have a relationship that you haven't confirmed to the others? Issei swallows deeply at not being able to explain the situation, even though he doesn't have much of an explanation that favors his position either. The two of you have been acting a lot like a couple. He looks at the girl and she looks at him. They both seem to understand each other, and when he least expects it, she reaches out her hand towards him and takes it. Wait, Koneko-chan. He manages to exclaim before being swiftly dragged away, forcing him to hold his bento tightly as Koneko guides him. Wait a minute, where are we going? To a place where it's just the two of us. Tears escape his eyes at that statement. Tears he doesn't understand. Wait. He manages to wiggle out of her grip, looking at her with concern. The hallway is empty, but in the distance, onlookers are several who notice the situation. Why are you doing this, Koneko-chan? Why you said you all love me? But I don't understand. How? Why? I could never be with someone like Rias. Like Akino. With someone. Then why do you claim that? How could you fall in love with me? Koneko, please, if this is for pity, I beg you to end it. All of this, I like it, but I don't deserve it. I'm just a perverted, useless boy. Because that's what she said. He snapped as he cried disconsolately, kneeling on the ground. It's not like that, Issei, she declared firmly as she hugs him and notices him pressing his forehead against the ground hard as he is unable to accept it. You are a kind, caring man. It may not be as strong as the love that Asia-san, Ria-sama or Akino-san have for you, but I know it's true love. I'm not wrong about it, she expressed as she stood beside him and forced him to stare at her, denoting her unaligned and deplorable appearance. She still won't let me cross, isn't it? Rainer, would you die for me? Issei lets out a loud, uncontainable sob. Memories of her shake his mind with pain and strength, with Kaneko's grip being what keeps him from meeting the ground again. I don't deserve this, he declared bitterly. A dirty low-class demon doesn't deserve to tell me something. I'm boring, a hopeless pervert, a fool. You're right, it was an amazing date. It's because you were on it that it was so boring. I really tried my best to make our date perfect. He sobbed as Koneko laid her head under his and listened to him as tears dripped onto her white hair. I see, she understood perfectly as it finally tied up the loose ends. But I'm not her, Issei. I know, he exclaimed, unable to contain himself, clinging to her to stop crying, burying his face against her hair in order to calm himself. I know, but I'm afraid I have it too. In not being any more than Ria-sama or Asia, whom you love too much. He tried to say while 1,000 times in his head replayed the black feathers that wandered in the dark church where Rainer died. He closed his eyes tightly, filling himself with courage to avoid losing the girl in his arms. You don't need to be more or less, Koneko-chan, because I love you like I love them. And that comment opened hers, who couldn't help but cling to him tightly. It was when Koneko saw that behind the boy's back, many people were watching everything, and as Issei was approaching at a fast pace and worried face towards them. I felt Issei's energy wander slightly into a dark one a few moments ago. What happened? Are you all right? He consulted as he managed to get closer and make the onlookers move away. Koneko smiled reassuringly as she wiped the small tears from her eyes and continued to stroke the boy's back, who had calmed down. Now we are, she expressed calmly. And what happened is that he forgot his bento. Azazel's expression was to be amused for generations. After all, there's no need for everyone to know about what had really happened. It was something private that only Issei should tell if he was willing. Sensei, may I ask you to bring our things later and excuse us? We're out of here for today, she asked as she gave use of her extreme strength to lift the boy, who didn't even hesitate to rearrange himself after wiping his face with the arm of his clothes, still with his back to the fallen angel. And that? He inquired, curious of such a rebellious action never thought of on Kaneko's part. We'll explain later. Let's go, Issei. And as Azazel was about to look at them, he noticed how the boy squeezed his hand with hers and followed her without hesitation. As he looked at the floor, he noticed between dampness and a break in one of the flagstones that made him intrigued as to what had happened. He obviously didn't think the bento thing was Issei's problem, and noticing the patterns, it was something more emotional. He had to make it clear to the boy how bad that woman had been, so that he would understand that she had done everything out of total desire and pleasure and not because of someone's request or threat or something similar. He looked to the front with seriousness, where Issei and Koneko were running holding hands, to smile slightly to see them so happy. It seemed that it was no longer necessary to intervene. For now, at least. The boy had so many traits of both his parents that he couldn't bear to watch the boy take care of him like he was meant to do. The student who was like a son to him, the couple who named him the godfather of their soon-to-be child to ensure that the man would always partake in the child's life in hope of better or worse situations. It was obviously clear that he wasn't there for anything, not seeing that he had proper care, treated well by the people, seeing him in his starting days in the academy, not giving him any training during his days in school, not seeing him graduate, not even seeing him for his birthday. The man had screwed up as godfather. He had only hoped he could repent for that mistake and make amends by teaching the boy, though that wasn't going well as it is now either. His ninjutsu is his somewhat strong point, but his level of doing hand signs are almost abysmal, and he relies too much on those damn shadow clones of him. I try to help him with what taijutsu I know, but it doesn't seem like he's naturally set for my style of fighting. I need to work on those two the most before I could properly teach him anything else. He thought. The idea of Fuinjutsu crossed his mind as well. The boy was in Uzumaki. Perhaps his genius and skills could be around the older man's own or even greater. Perhaps I will teach him that next, after his skills have increased with his ninjutsu and taijutsu. The white-haired shinobi smirked. He would have to put his writing on hold for a couple months, but it would be worth it in the end after all the training he received to improve his main skill sets before going into the sealing arts. The rumbling in the sky could be heard from Juria's ears as he looked up, as he gave a quizzical grunt as he looked at the sky. He was somewhat surprised at this occurrence. There was little to no clouds in the ocean, and now there was a storm brooding in the sky, all black and ominous. Though what was curious was the lightning moving around in such an unusual way. It streamed across the clouds like it was alive in some way and came down as more of a ball of light that was spiraling down than a normal lightning bolt. The sound of it cracking down on the earth, the sound of thunder had echoed into town, getting the attention of everyone, shopkeepers, civilians, ninja in the area, and even the great ninja himself. The sound had quickly died down and a light surged up into the sky, into the clouds. Jiraiya took a few steps and stared at the light in shock before he looked into the direction the light was in. His eyes had stayed on the area and paused. It was just 2 miles away, where the hotel he and Naruto were at. Instinct ran through his spine as if telling him something was wrong. He ran toward the direction as small beads of sweat dripped on his face and was filled with anxiety. He felt something had happened to his student, something entirely different than just Kyuubi or Akatsuki, but he felt like he was dead on the subject. Naruto, you better not be dead, otherwise I'll have more than just Tsunade to worry about, he thought as he hoped to make it in time before it was too late. XXX. White. All there was in Naruto's sight was just white. He couldn't tell if he was alive or dead. He felt though that he was still alive, just stagnant, somewhere in his mind after being pulled in so abruptly. He could hear the drops of the sewer within his mind drip as it hit the water. Though he could hear a vibrant sensation, the sound of ringing like a vacuum of sorts. He could hear the low growl of the Kyuubi grow louder as it casted out. The light had died out, the view now becoming what seemed like was now the sewer tunnels. For a moment he walked around until he saw a flashing blue light at the left corner, then hearing the infuriating roar of Kyuubi along with the banging of bars as it was attempting to do attack. From what Naruto could tell, Naruto, as cautious as he was of whatever was making the tailed beast infuriated. Curiosity taking over him, he walked over to the left corner and took a glimpse on what was within the lair of the Kyuubi. His eyes widened to see a ball of blue light crack lightning sparks from it. The sphere had pulsed slightly as it gave a slight ringing sound with the pulse as if it was countering the beast's roar with its own. Naruto had walked inside and quietly observed the ball of light and walked closer to it. Once about a couple feet from it, the blonde slowly raised his hand up to touch it before a slight bang from Kyuubi's bars caused him to flinch and look at the red-orange furred fox. Don't touch that ball, Naruto, otherwise you'll just get fried by that rage's current form, Kyuubi said as he snarled and looked at the ball of lightning. Naruto took a step back as he heard the words, Areiju. He thought in confusion until he heard another voice echo in the room. HMPH, as if I would want to waste my time shocking him, it's against my code of honor. The voice was calmer than Kyuubi's malevolent voice, but it held a sense of power just as the beast in the cage. Even so, I wouldn't have come in such a fashionable way, instead I would have just gone my way, the voice told Kyuubi. Then you should have gone your way, you annoying creature, you know well enough that you aren't worth my time unless you have a death wish. He growled as his razor-sharp claws dug through the cage attempting to reach the ball. Now leave. As long as you are within your cage, I think I am safe to say I can be in here without causing your host a major headache, the Reiju said as he chuckled, getting a roar back from Kyuubi in return. Naruto spat out, breaking the tension of the situation as he heard a humming question from the ball of lightning. You're Reiju? He asked questionably to the being within the lightning sphere. Of course I am. This is just one of my forms, the voice said as the sphere had begun to change, morphing into a bodily form. The form was slightly hunched and 2 feet, about 7, but 8 feet tall, upright. Once the light died down, the features were more clearer to view what the being was now. The creature bore antlers on its hair similar to a deer's, but were differently structured. The mass was bulky, built lean, yet at the same time was more muscle mass than anything. The Reiju had white fur with black stripes on its back, arms and hind legs like a tiger, but bore near similar features to that of a canine, almost like a fox or wolf. Its teeth were pure white and as sharp as its claws, and its eyes were pure blue, similar to its long white hairy mane that fell from its head. I believe my hybrid form shall suffice. Naruto stared at the being. It radiated energy around its body, white and pure as it screamed out power. He had heard stories from Sandaime when he was little, the tales of Raijin's companion, the beast who was as fast as lightning, as such, was known as the Lightning Rider. To see one in person was such an honor, but a joy for him. How did you? Naruto stuttered out as he blinked in surprise as he was at a loss of words. How did I get here? The legendary creature finished Naruto's words, only for the boy to simply nod in acceptance of the words. Well, it's obvious. You were just struck by an oncoming ball of lightning outside of here. I just enveloped you and went inside your seal is all. I was curious about you, so I wanted to see what was in this little head of yours, he said as he looked at the blonde. I guess I am surprised. If I had known you held a being such as this inside you, I would have probably just let you be. Especially with this one, the canine-like creature said. So you two know each other then? The Reiju looked at Naruto and hunched down to match the boy's height. Not exactly. Let me just say I've heard of him and have been familiar with something of sorts that was like him past-wise. Naruto was confused at first when he had brought up something such as a being like Kyuubi. Was there a connection of sorts in this, or was there a sort of familiarity? Though the thought stopped within his mind when he had heard the beast. So, I guess since you've seen him you're gonna leave like that, huh? He muttered to the deity. His pure blue eyes stared at Naruto for the longest time. No, not yet at least. Your nature as a Jinchuriki is somewhat opposite to those before you from the past, among other things, he said softly. Naruto looked at the beast as he paused. Jinchuriki. He paused as he looked at him. What in Kami's name is a Jinchuriki? I'm smart, but not everything was taught about something like that in the academy. As well, I wasn't quite treated fairly, as you know. Naruto said. As knowledgeable as he was in fighting now and smart about shinobi art and history, his knowledge was still limited. He couldn't get books or scrolls from the library until he became a fully legalized ninja, and even then some of the stuff he still couldn't touch. The Raju's sweat dropped as he grimaced. Sorry. Tend to forget about certain things. After reading your memories, I should have known you might have not known that. The bipedal creature sat down cross-legged and stared at the young blonde. A Jinchuriki is what the old shinobi and current ones call a person who was the human sacrifice to become the host of a demon, as they call them. These demons are known as Biju or tailed beasts. He raised his claw-like appendage and a medium-sized sphere appeared just inches above. In that sphere the 9 beasts took form. Biju are beasts of pure chakra in form. Their supply of energy is limitless, ranks from 1 to 9 by the number of tails they have. The more tails they have, the higher of chakra they have. And Naruto stared out, letting all the information soak into his head as he slowly turned and looked at Kyuubi for a moment, who simply glared in return. So Kyuubi ... is what you would call a Biju. How many of them are there? He asked. Overall 9. That beast behind you holds himself as not just the one with the most chakra, but as the strongest as well, rivaling 5 of his kin in both power and strength combined. While we immortal beings aren't too fond of the Biju, we know their power. While some of us are on level to some, hardly none of us can defeat a being such as him even if half of his chakra is gone. He looked up at the beast. When your previous Hokage had sealed the beast in you, he sealed half into the Shinigami. Because the beast held too much chakra to be sealed into your newborn body, as well as it being impossible to seal it entirely within the Shinigami, he would simply reform once more into the world within a certain time, be it days or years. So wait, what you're telling me is that even if I die, he'll still come back? He said angrily and pointed at the red fox behind him. What's the point of sealing them inside a person when no matter what they will come back? That would mean that we are nothing more than just people who just ostracized from the other human population, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Calm yourself, boy, otherwise your mouth will be shot off your face, the Reiju said in a commanding tone, quickly shutting the blonde up. The Thunder Beast stared at the boy with tiresome eyes and shook his head. I understand your reasoning, I truly do. A Biju is made up of living chakra. To reform will simply be its chakra's nature. The idea of humanity holding these beasts was a mistake. Though at the same time it was a choice made for the best, for these creatures were born from hate, a darkness not just man feared, but the gods themselves. Sealing them in humans a risky price, though at the same time is a benefit for all. How so? Naruto asked. The mythological creature gave a toothy grin. It keeps stability for humanity, a sense of peace with no destruction caused by these chakra monsters. You gain the abilities through the beast within you, then finally the beast can tame himself unless their will is strong, thus it will be your job to be its tamer. Its ally. He said. Naruto stared upon the great deity with wide eyes, a mistake that was for the good of all mankind, something that would benefit both the shinobi nations who hold a Jinchuriki as well as the Jinchuriki and Biju themselves with risks. The shinobi and Jinchuriki get power, though the shinobi worry for the Jinchuriki's sanity, as well as to ensure their safety, for if they die or lose control, the beast will come out. For the Biju, the price of being sealed in order to become calm. For once Naruto could understand something, the price of power has consequences. I understand. His voice came out softly as he closed his eyes. But why? Why not just befriend the Biju if that was the case? Make an ally of one in order to have peace for all nations, as well as to ensure protection. From what I can tell, people see Jinchuriki as the beast themselves and the tailed beast are monsters of mysterious origin, but I can tell they are intelligent. I mean, I have one inside me, so why not just befriend them? He asked. Both the Reiju and Kyuubi bore wide eyes at hearing Naruto's words as they looked at the boy. A boy had made such a simple question about the thought, the ideal of making peace with both the other nations of ninja as well as the tailed beast. The Reiju thought for a moment before he spoke once more. Simple, humans fear what they do not understand. It is human logic to think that way towards anything that is irregular to the world. Biju are beasts that hold limitless chakra that is hundreds to thousands of times the amount a normal Jonin level ninja holds. Yet very few humans hold knowledge of what they truly are, just believing them to be nothing more than mindless animals when in truth they are smart. Ancient as the few remaining gods in this world. The beast closed his eyes. There was a time they understood. It was a time of great fear and darkness within the world. Remember what I told you of the time in which it was a fearful time with not just man, but the gods as well. It was caused by a powerful entity. An entity that had gone by many names before it became different beings. Naruto was about to ask, but he had received a low growl from Kyuubi's end which silenced him. He sighed softly as he looked back at Kyuubi and then back at the Reiju. So aside from this, why did you come here? You said my chakra was familiar to you, but how? Ah yes, the reason why I truly came here. Well, when I felt that spike it caught my eye, it was so familiar to one who was just like you. You could say he was a lot like you in most ways. You and your beast shared many ties with him, both distant and very old. He pointed one of his large fingers, his sharp claw pressing at the blonde's chest. Which is why I have a gift for you. I would like to give you what you ninja call a Kekkei Genkai of sorts. Naruto froze for a moment as he heard the two words. His eyes brightened up light stars as he moved around the Thunder Beast with amazement and excitement at heart. Really, you're going to give me one? Will it be better than the Sharingan, or the thing that Haku had? Oh. Please let it be better than Neji's Byakugan, he said loudly before he got whacked on the head by the beast's large fist. Are you insane, you Nimrod of an immortal? Do you not realize the consequences for giving him a Kekkei Genkai? Kyuubi roared out. Have you not seen his memory of his reputation? He'll be a pathway of walking destruction with his pranks. He'll be worse than even Matatabi with her special time. It would be easier to just let me out. I doubt he will do that if he wants this gift. This power is meant for him to make a path through peace. I have my faith in this boy, just as you had cared for your former caretaker Kyuubi. Or better yet, should I say, the Reiju grinned. Kurama. How dare you say that name? Only those who are worthy may call me that, he yelled as he rammed his claws into the cage. Just as you have no right to judge the boy so quickly without even giving him a chance to see the potential he has. He grabbed the boy by the back of his jacket and looked at him dead straight in the eye. Now it will be nothing like the sharing, and nor will it be a Dojutsu, though I will tell you this power will exceed even what cages could do, things that even I can do possibly. It just matters on how you use your power and what for. It will grow with you as you grow, and it grows more as your heart grows. Naruto wiggled around from the Reiju's grip and was quickly released, flipping a couple feet away and landing on his feet. I'm ready for it then if that's the case, he pumped his fist, but stopped before he looked at the fox-like being. Before we start, I have a question, and that would be, the lightning being asked calmly, do you have a name? Naruto asked as he puzzled. I mean, it would be kind of awkward just calling you Reiju all the time, so I figured you might have a name is all. There was a long silence from the two as Naruto gave a quizzical brow of curiosity and slight worry. A low chuckle came from the being's throat as pure blue eyes stared at Naruto. I haven't been asked that in a long time by anyone. His divine chakra channeled through his body as he was preparing to release the power towards Naruto, merging some of the power in the boy's body to give him a bloodline. KMI and that is my name, Kamina said. Kamina cool name, Naruto repeated as he grinned. Well, lay it on me. The Reiju smirked as his energy burst out. The divine chakra hit Naruto like a wrecking ball, keeping him immobilized as the pressure of the chakra started to channel through his chakra stream into his core. The pipes in his mind had glowed a azure blue color as they grew brighter. The pain was excruciating, but it slowly calmed down, the pressure quickly subsiding and began to swirl around his mental body, the chakra coating it into a form like no other. Kamina was almost complete. The transfer of the bloodline was about to end as he prepared to withdraw his chakra until it came to a stop. What? He thought as his chakra was being pulled in once more. Naruto's body itself was changing as it was enshrouded, bursting with azure light, taking in Kamina's chakra. This is impossible. His chakra is drawing on my own like a magnet. Kamina had no other choice but to cancel out the chakra transfer to a complete stop. The sudden stop causes an explosion of chakra to blast through the outside and inside of Naruto's mindscape, blinding both Kurama and Kamina. Kurama's eyes winced as he took a notice at Naruto's figure. His body was covered in an azure shroud of chakra with a hue of brilliant white around him. The shroud split down the middle and opened up into a cloak that had a tattered appearance with symbols appearing around the back. Bracing around his neck was a necklace of Magatama. His hair was more regal, spiked up, wild and animal-like, flowing as though a breeze was around him. And his whisker marks became thicker, more feral-like. The very essence of the energy around Naruto stunned the nine-tailed fox with wonder. The boy's presence felt different and alarmed him. The state he was in, the essence of power, felt similar to only a handful of people he had trusted in his life, but only one in particular. Rakuto Jiji. The demon fox muttered out to himself as the chakra blew outward a little longer, until it died down as well with the light. Naruto's form was clear as day, newly produced, powerful in its grasp. Kurama could only stare at the resemblance of the young blonde and the old sage that he had once knew. For just a brief second, the hate that bore within him for those years died. Naruto had opened his eyes, azure blue with vertical slit pupils, like that of Kurama's. He stared at the chakra shroud in amazement as he looked at it. Amazing, he muttered softly, then looked in front of him to see Kamina panting heavily. Are you all right? He asked, somewhat worried. Yes, just a little exhausted. I was only meaning to give you a small amount of chakra, but your chakra was attracted to mine, quite a big nasty chunk. He said, chuckling as he looked at him. I suppose you might not need to work yourself all the way to gain that form, but I would advise you to not use it unless necessary. Your body is coping with the chakra in your system still as well as the adjustments on your body. I'll have to help you train yourself on how to use that bloodline of yours, all of its powers, to the form you're in now. Wait, Naruto cut him before he pointed at Kamina. Why, you mean you're staying? Would you prefer to not know what the hell you're doing and learn by yourself? It could take you many years to get you to where you want to be, and with me it could be vastly shorter, Kamina said as he narrowed his eyes. Didn't say anything about you leaving, just, will you and Kurama start a fight? He asked. I don't intend on making your brain mush, boy. So that's a now unless it's necessary. The Reiju could sense someone coming. Someone is coming, Naruto. I suggest you leave this place, but before you do, suppress your chakra. You're like a beacon for danger out there, he said. Naruto nodded as he turned to leave until he felt Kyuubi's, now Kurama's, claw hit his forehead. His eyes widened as memories began to flash into his head, something he would have never expected as he was seeing two styles of fighting, a style in which was nearly similar to a fox's nature, the other nearly similar to that of a dragon in flight. The memories had ceased as Kyubai's claw removed itself from Naruto's forehead, leaving the dazed blonde confused. Once his mind had become clear, Naruto could feel a sensation of information and memory of fighting, two fighting styles. What? Ryuken and the Saitome style, ancient arts which were lost many years ago. The fox said as his eyes furrowed, "Do not think I like you, Uzumaki Naruto. I loathe your being, but your life has become interesting, and for amusing me I gave you knowledge in return." Naruto looked at the fox with widened eyes and smiled softly. "Thanks, Kurama," he said before getting a growl in return. "You are not worthy of saying my name, boy," he said in a threatening tone. Of course the boy wasn't ready, at least not yet, until he had proven himself to the fox that he was the one the old sage had mentioned. "Now, leave," his booming voice blasting the boy's mental body out of his mind and into the living world. XXX. Naruto's eyes widened as he stared up at the sky, which was no longer dark and cloudy, but a serene clear blue sky. He looked at his hands for a moment, seeing that the shroud was not just on him in his mental state, but his physical as well. He could hear rustling come from nearby and he quickly panicked for a moment. Quickly he concentrated on suppressing the chakra until it died down inside of him. The rustling came once more as he turned to see Jiraiya on his way coming towards him. Naruto held a bead of sweat on his forehead, hoping that the man didn't see what had happened. "Naruto, are you all right?" the sage said as he walked up to the boy. "I saw a lightning strike and then a big light ascending to the sky. I was hoping that it wasn't you in any of the crossfire." Naruto internally was relieved that the hermit didn't notice anything after that, though the next thing on his mind was what to tell him, explain to him about what had happened. "It would be unwise to tell him anything about my existence or your power yet. Wait until everything is settled down for a while, until you get into your training with him and with myself," Kamina said as his voice died down. I didn't see anything," Naruto lied. "I woke up just about 15 minutes ago and I decided to do some training after I washed up." It was hard to lie to Jiraiya. Even if the man wasn't fully participating with his training, the man was still his teacher, better than Kakashi to say the least. He had gotten a stare down from Jiraiya, making himself focused to ensure there was no sort of deceit in his eyes. Once he heard Jiraiya sigh, it was all in the okay zone after that. "All right, at least nothing bad has happened to you, Gaki. If anything did, Tsunade would bury me in my own grave." He turned to walk away. "Get your clothes on and pack up. We're going to Uzu no Kuni for a couple months training. Then making a couple stops to Kirigakure and Suna, then we head for Taki for our last spot in training," he said before disappearing into the trail. Naruto was confused at all the major stops they were going to, but shrugged them off as he grabbed his things and headed into the trail as well. "Which reminds me, what is my bloodline?" he thought. "I haven't noticed until now, but as I can see it is one of the finest abilities so far. The abilities to manipulate the elements in a storm, such as lightning and wind without consuming chakra. That shroud is what takes your power beyond the limits in your normal state." Kamina said you would be able to manipulate a natural element and absorb it into your body for replenishment or as an offensive type. Same with elemental attacks from shinobi who hold the same elements, the ones for a storm. "So basically I'm a walking storm," Naruto stated as he smiled. "Freaking sweet databao." "Indeed," Kamina said as he paused, though what will you name it?" Naruto puzzled as he thought for a moment. A fox-like grin appeared on his face as he said two words. "Reiju Arc." Naruto and Jiraiya walked through the town streets towards the harbor platforms in order to rent a boat that will take them to the homeland that is Uzumaki no Sato. Naruto glanced upwards and scowled, covering his eyes with his hand as he aimed to block out the harsh rays of the sun. It was unnaturally hot today, and it showed from the fact that many of the town's populace were fanning themselves or guzzling down water in the way Naruto would chow down on his beloved ramen. "Oi, Iro Sennin, why are we walking here through the town? Why can't we just run on the rooftops to get to the harbor?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya turned back to glance at his disciple. "Naruto, it is best to keep a low profile here, seeing as how we are in an area of the elemental nations where shinobi tend to be rather scarce. I don't want to take any chances with the fact that even though the Akatsuki have paused in their activities, they may still be wanting to keep an eye on you. Us performing shinobi acts might ruin our chances to avoid being detected by the Akatsuki, as well as making a big spectacle of ourselves should we do so, and if they are watching us, they may want to attack and you are not strong enough to take them on yet," the white-haired sage explained. Naruto frowned. Jiraiya's reason and logic did make sense despite wanting to refute it. There was no telling what the Akatsuki were planning, even with Jiraiya's spy network doing what it could to keep an eye on the organization. Naruto's hands clenched into fists as the images of Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kasama appeared in his mind. It was the image from when the two Nuke Nin had first arrived to take him for the Kyuubi that resided within him. He was practically useless when Kasama had the Simhata take his chakra, and there was nothing he could have done to stop the two powerful shinobi if Jiraiya hadn't shown up when he did to stop them. "I have to become stronger, and I will," Naruto thought, determination flashing across his face. However, the determination was soon replaced with annoyance when the sunlight assaulted his eyes. Wait, Kamina said the Reiju Arc could allow me to manipulate elements of the storm. Maybe I could make a cloud cover or something to block out the sun. Naruto smirked as he aimed to draw on the abilities of the Thunder Beast, but suddenly he felt a tugging at the back of his mind. He blinked and he found himself within his sewer-like mindscape standing before the dragon-like beast and the crimson-furred kitsune. Huh, what the? Kamina, Kurama. I would advise against using the Reiju arc, Naruto. Kamina spoke, his form letting loose random sparks of lightning as he did so. The red-eyed kitsune snarled, his tail swishing back and forth in a wild manner. I would also advise you not to use my real name without my consent to do so. I will not have some idiotic monkey such as you utter it from your lips so casually. My name is only worthy for 3 people and they are long gone and none have ever earned my respect to say it and you uzumaki have not done so. You are to refer to me by my title and my title alone. I am Kyuubi no Yoko, the most powerful of all the Biju and I suggest you refer to me as such unless otherwise before I flood your system with my chakra and burn your entire chakra network. Naruto and Kamina stared in shock at the malevolent tone the Biju had used in response to Naruto's usage of his actual name. True, the beast was a being of pure malice and contempt with a mixture of pride, but the anger that came about by Kurama seemed different to the one that Naruto usually felt when meeting with the demonic kitsune. You seem rather against my using your real name, though what is the point of me knowing your true name if I can't even use it? Naruto asked. The 9-tailed fox snarled at its Jinchuriki before slamming its claws against the bars of the cage that held it back. If it weren't for this damned seal I would have your head, Uzumaki. The point is that my name remains out of your mouth unless you have earned my respect, which you have not. Kurama roared. Naruto stared into the crimson iris of his Biju. The blonde then broke out into his trademark foxy grin. Well then Kyuubi, guess I'll have to work hard to earn your respect then. The response caught both Thunder Beast and Biju off guard. What? Kurama exclaimed. Naruto chuckled. I did just say that if I can't say your name ... then what is the point in me knowing it? Now I know your reason. I can see how much your name means to you. After all, a name pronounced is the recognition of the individual to whom it belongs to, and your name represents who you are. You seem very proud of your name, so I will comply with your request and earn your respect, Naruto said. Kurama and Kamina looked at each other and then back at the blonde. Kurama growled, but an amused smirk found its way to his face. I will enjoy watching you struggle to achieve that, Gaki. Kurama then turned and headed back into the darkness of his cage to take a nap. As the fox did so, the Reiju turned to look at Naruto. You really are an interesting individual, Naruto Uzumaki. Maybe so ... but I enjoy being challenged. I've gone up against impossible odds before, like when I learned the Rasengan and I've come out on top all the same. Besides ... if I do this I can go down as one of the first Jinchuriki to befriend their Biju. Naruto grinned, earning a chuckle from the Thunder Beast. Kamina nodded before Naruto spoke once more. So why did you say you were against me using the Reiju arc just to make a simple cloud cover? Naruto asked. Kamina cleared his throat before speaking. Yes, well you see Naruto, you have only just received my powers yesterday. The Reiju arc as you have dubbed it, combines the powers of wind and lightning to give you the ability to command the elements of the storm. Kamina explained, raising his hand, conducting plasma energy around his hand before it turned into sparks of lightning. While you may be able to draw upon them and use them, you are inexperienced. Lightning and wind are 2 of the most unpredictable elements in not just nature, but in chakra as well. These elements combined can make an even unique, but dangerous result. If you choose to perform the Reiju arc, you may end up potentially hurting yourself or the people around you, like the civilian populace you and your sensei are currently surrounded by. I'm suggesting you withhold such thoughts and give yourself time to train in the Reiju arc when you arrive at this Uzu no Kuni that your sensei spoke of. Oh, he said intelligently. Well, I see where you are going with this, okay. I won't use the Reiju arc for now at least. I better get before Rosenin realizes I might not be paying attention to him. Naruto then vanished from his mindscape, leaving the 2 powerful beings that resided within it to their own devices. That boy is going to be something else. Well, maybe if you told him that his chakra's elemental affinity is for wind, he may have reason to believe he does not have to work as hard in order to use that Kekai Genkai you gave him. Kurama said. Come now Kurama, the boy has other things to learn. I have no doubt in mind that the boy will surprise us with growth neither of us will expect. Besides, I thought you wanted to sleep. Zzz, Kurama snored, causing the Reiju to release an irritated sigh. Smart-ass Biju. XXX. Naruto blinked and then quickly twisted his body to avoid colliding with a woman who was walking past him. However, as he turned back in front he found his walking from colliding with that of his sensei's. Oi Rosenin, why'd you stop walking? We've reached the harbor, Gaki, Jiraiya said with a large grin on his face. Come on, I've just got to talk with the manager and we'll be on our way. Naruto nodded and sat down atop a small crate he had spied and looked up at the clear blue sky. The sun now blocked out by a fortunate little cloud earning a smirk from Naruto as his eyes were temporarily free from being seared by the harsh golden rays. Rosenin better teach me some good stuff and not try to peep on any women that are on Uzu. If he does, I don't give a damn, Sanin or not, I'm kicking him where the sun doesn't shine. Naruto muttered. He looked up to see Jiraiya talking with a rather lanky-looking man who had a stern look on his face, most likely the boat manager. After watching the 2 men converse, Jiraiya pulled out his Ika Ika Paradise Volume 8 and handed it to the man. A pleasure doing business with you, Jiraiya-sama, the man yelled out. Naruto's eyes narrowed. So much for keeping a low profile so the Akatsuki won't find us, he thought. Jiraiya sauntered over his disciple before pulling the teen to his feet. Come on, I got the boat for free because the guy loved my novels. You mean the disgusting smut you write? Yes, there is some good that can come from those things. Naruto laughed. Jiraiya slapped his student upside the head, but the blonde continued to express his amusement. After getting on the boat, Jiraiya made a cage bunshin to row the aquatic vehicle across the clear waters. So Aro-sennin, are you going to teach me anything cool? Naruto asked with an excited look on his face. Jiraiya tapped his chin as he observed his student. Well, I don't think I can give you any taijutsu training until I can find a suitable style for you, so I guess I will work on your physical capabilities a bit. After that I will help you with your chakra control. When we're through with that, I'm going to teach you how to perform Fuinjutsu. Naruto blinked at the elder man. Fuinjutsu? He asked. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, the place where we're going, Uzu no Kuni, was famous for having a great talent in the art of Fuinjutsu. It's one of the same styles of jutsu that was used by the Yondaime, and it was through similar teachings that I had taught to him that allowed him to devise Hiraishin. Not only that, but the sealing array that holds the Kyuubi within you, Jiraiya said, pointing at Naruto's stomach. Naruto's eyes widened. Like the Yondaime, he whispered, a style of jutsu that his idol had used, he was going to learn that. A big grin broke across his face, threatening to break it. That's amazing. Damn right it's amazing. Fuinjutsu is also what I had used to seal the flames Itachi had created when he escaped with his partner. Naruto remembered with a nod. Jiraiya had pulled out a scroll, scribbled down a seal at a rapid pace, and suddenly sealed away the black flames that the elder brother of Sasuke had used to escape his current sensei's jutsu. So I'm going to learn things like that. Yes, however the sealing arts require a lot of theoretical work, so you'll have to use your head a lot. I know you're the kind of person for practical work, seeing as how you're a kinesthetic learner, but I have a feeling that you will have a rather unforeseen talent in the sealing arts. Jiraiya said with a proud grin. That, and because you have the blood of an Uzumaki and a Namikaze in you. You will no doubt be a force to be reckoned with if you get the hang of Fuinjutsu, Naruto ... just like your parents. He added an afterthought. I see. Anything else you have in mind? He asked. Yes, actually, I will teach you to play some strategy games to sharpen your mind. Hanafuda, Go, and Shogi are prime examples of such games. It will help you to make strategies and rely on tactical warfare when in battle. Jiraiya gave the genin a smirk as he narrowed his eyes. Naruto, you often rush into the fight and end up making up a plan on the fly, but this only occurs when you are in the middle of the fight. I realize that you are a great shinobi due to this amazing gift to come up with such amazing strategies on the fly, but if you are able to think ahead of such strategies, you will fight and you will have a greater chance of success in the long run. When you return to Konoha, you will be returning to join up with a team by your side instead of just going with me or solo. That means thinking ahead to reduce the risk of losses on a mission. The blonde Jinchuriki remained silent as he looked up at the clouds. He smirked as he felt relaxed upon looking at the skies. So this ... is why Shikamaru always likes to watch the clouds. The blonde mused. After a half an hour had passed, Jiraiya stopped his cage bunshin from rowing and the clone dispersed in a puff of smoke. Naruto's eyes shot open, having fallen asleep during that time, and stood up. Are we here? He asked. Jiraiya nodded and moved aside so Naruto could see the large island of Uzu no Kuni. Living true to its name, the island was surrounded by a large mass of whirlpools. Naruto's eyes narrowed, trying to see up further ahead, trying to see if he could get a glimpse of the island's characteristics other than the scattered forests. He then turned upon hearing Jiraiya step atop the water. Why are we walking? He asked, picking up his backpack and followed his sensei's lead. The island of Uzu, despite having been wiped out long ago, still has some protection seals surrounding it. There's a reason why people rarely come to visit or even venture towards this place, Jiraiya said as he took out a shuriken from his weapons pouch. He flung the star-shaped weapon, and as it crossed over into the territory of whirlpools, Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the whirlpools suddenly react to the shuriken's presence. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the whirlpools suddenly spring to life, rising up like serpents before one of them engulfed the shuriken and dragged it down into the depths of the ocean. The whirlpools then returned to normal and the two shinobi were now staring at the waters. What was that, Aro-sennin? That was a protection seal devised by the inhabitants of this island when they were still alive. This was probably one of the outer perimeter seals to try and dismantle any enemies trying to invade on water. Jiraiya walked left as he moved away from the hidden weaponized watery terrain. It is still a mystery as to how the feared people of this island had their defenses breached and thus resulting in their people being slaughtered. It was one of the worst genocides in the history of the shinobi world, Jiraiya informed his student. However, I do know a way around it. Follow me. Naruto followed Jiraiya and they walked along the water's surface before coming to a clear path, void of whirlpools. Jiraiya glanced back at Naruto. Uzushiagakure, former homeland of the legendary Uzumaki clan. Naruto ... The island only recognizes those with Uzumaki blood, and so you will have to venture through the path first before I can follow. Once it recognizes you, the defenses will be dropped until you reach the island's coastline. Jiraiya thought. He never really liked using people, but it was the only way he could get to the island without being killed by the island itself. Plus, he couldn't tell Naruto of his heritage. Not yet. I made a promise to your parents that I would protect you, Naruto. If I didn't keep your heritage a secret, I'd be failing that promise. Jiraiya then ushered Naruto through first, causing the blonde boy to wonder why he had to go through first. A real ninja fears nothing, now go. I follow you after, I just need to make sure I have the supplies I need to teach you the Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya half-lied as he pulled out a small scroll. Naruto stared hard at Jiraiya as the white-haired porn writer was going through his backpack in a very serious manner. Naruto shrugged before venturing through the clear path. Unknown to him, the water beneath suddenly had a large seal array on it and a chakra pulse was released. Naruto felt the pulse and looked around before noticing nothing, though he kept his guard up even more than he had done before. The seal array suddenly began to twist and swirl. A ring of seals appeared, forming concentric circles. The center of the seal suddenly morphed in shape, and where there was nothing, there now lay the kanji for Uzumaki. Jiraiya spotted that and smirked. The defenses had been let down as the island had recognized the Uzumaki blood within the blonde. Thank you, Kushina-chan. He thought to the heavens, clasping his hands in prayer. He then followed after his blonde pupil, and the two continued to walk until they reached the coastline of the island. As soon as the two set foot on the island, Naruto immediately surveyed his surroundings. The stone beach made a crunch-like sound as he walked along it, Jiraiya walking alongside him. Numerous trees formed the forests he had spied earlier on. However, what took a large majority of the island was the large amount of rubble that filled the island. Dilapidated buildings, towers, and other forms of infrastructure that once stood tall were now cracked, broken, and some of which had been reduced to piles of clay and stone. Naruto observed the area and felt a tug at his heartstrings. What happened here? Naruto thought before he heard a loud snap. Beneath his foot, he looked down and his eyes widened. A human skeletal forearm, now broken due to the pressure Naruto's foot had exerted on it, lay beneath him. The body that the arm was attached to lay beneath a large slab of rock, and Naruto saw traces of red hair poking out from beneath the slab. He looked at the forearm once more. It was small. A child, Naruto guessed. He then turned to Jiraiya, who had placed a hand on his shoulder. Come on, Naruto, we can't bother with the dead, he said. Naruto gulped before looking at his sensei. I know you said that the people of Uzu no Kuni were killed off in a genocide, but this is unlike anything I would have imagined. Naruto walked away from the broken form of the child before following Jiraiya through the broken land of Uzu. After a few minutes, Jiraiya and Naruto had reached a suitable area of forest that lay past the ruins of Uzu. It was spacious and there was a river running through the area. Naruto followed the river's opposite flow path and came to stare in awe at the majestic mountains that were almost completely obscured by the tall trees. Naruto channeled chakra into his feet and climbed up a tree as Jiraiya was setting up camp. Naruto hopped atop one of the higher branches and continued to stare at the landscape. The forestry made extreme meanders around the areas where there used to be civilization, now a bunch of rubble. The river seemed to cut the island in half, its path starting in the distance where several mountains lay, their peaks seeming to scrape the sky. He then followed the river's actual flow pattern and saw it had come to a stop at a large lake near the upper sections of the land of Uzu no Kuni, where there lay the largest amount of destroyed infrastructure out of the entire island. Despite Uzu no Kuni appearing small, it was apparently far larger than one would have anticipated. Naruto continued to stare at the landscape before dropping down from the tree. He landed on his feet, bending his knees to prevent the shock from hurting his legs. As he stood back up, he looked to see Jiraiya had finished setting up the small campsite. Their two packs lay against a pair of tall trees while a large pile of firewood lay next to their bags, and Jiraiya was already making a small pile, circling it with stones, to prepare for the night when it came. All right, Naruto, now that I've made the camp, it's time to start your training, he said in a serious tone. Naruto nodded as the training began. It was a rather uneventful set of training, though, seeing as how Jiraiya had him practice his chakra control by running up and down trees as well as walking along the flowing waters of the river. He had walked atop the frickin' ocean to reach the island, so the river was child's play to the blonde Jinchuriki. After a few hours of practicing chakra control, Jiraiya made Naruto do a variety of exercises to increase his body's capabilities. 400 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 350 handstand push-ups, and then a few punch and kick drills against the thick trunks of the nearby trees, which were also placed at a number within the hundreds margin. Alright, Naruto, now that the warm-ups are done, I'm going to get a feel for what you would need improvement in. Your tests will be in terms of strength, speed, agility, endurance, flexibility, and stealth, Jiraiya said before getting into a basic stance. He tucked his arms in so that his hands were against his waist and his legs were spread a bit past shoulder width and bent at 90-degree angles. Alright, now then, punch me and kick me, Jiraiya said. Naruto shook his head. What? He asked. I said hit me. Give it everything you've got. I know you're 14 in genin level, so your strength may not be all that great, but I can take it. I've been hit with Gamabunta's hand and pummeled by Tsunade. Nothing will outclass that woman's hit, so give it your best, Naruto. The blonde hesitantly held up his fists, wondering if it was alright to punch his sensei, but he got over it. He gave a battle cry and charged forth before punching with all he had. He reared back his left fist and nailed Jiraiya in the center of his chest. Jiraiya released a small grunt as he was sent leaning back a few centimeters, but nothing more. The white-haired man returned to his original position, looked down at the shorter blonde, and nodded. Now go with a straight kick. Naruto did as he was told and he achieved the same result. Jiraiya had not even shifted from his spot. Either that or the shift was minuscule, one wouldn't be able to tell. The Gamasenin was put into a position where he was leaning backwards, but his feet had remained anchored to the spot. Naruto had repeated the action in order to make sure he wasn't staying on the ground due to sticking to it with chakra, but found his claim to be false. Okay, your strength is something we need to work on. I'll whip up some weights and gravity seals for you soon enough, but right now it's time for your other test. Naruto frowned as he held up his fist. He had put everything he had into his punch. He had kicked so hard during the Chunin exams that he was able to send Kiba airborne. He was also able to do so with a punch like he did with Neji when he used the tunneling tactic to nail him in the chin and earn himself the win. He was able to appear in time to save Sasuke from being attacked by a half-transformed Gaara during the war against Suna and Oto by kicking him in the jaw, sending the red-headed boy soaring for a few seconds. However, Jiraiya hadn't even moved from his spot. Is the gap between me and a Rosenin really that big? He thought. He then looked up upon hearing Jiraiya take out a few kunai and shuriken. Now I want you to dodge these. I will throw them at only half my actual speed of throwing, so that might help you a bit, so be prepared. Naruto's legs tensed as Jiraiya held up the weapons and with a flick of his wrist sent them soaring towards his pupil. Naruto's eyes widened, but his lightweight body and his lean frame was what gave him the edge. The 4 shuriken that were sent towards him were avoided. One was ducked under, the second was avoided by Naruto twisting at the waist before he leaned backwards so his upper body was parallel to the ground to avoid the third. To avoid the fourth, he had went with the momentum of his leaning backwards and went into a handstand and bent his arms, allowing him to push off and avoid the 4th shuriken. However, he quickly had to rotate his body to avoid the kunai that was aimed for his head. "Boy, watch it," he yelled as he performed another aerial twist, spreading his legs apart in a straight split to avoid the second kunai that made him gulp and pale with fear as he felt the blade just barely touched his genitalia. He then reached out and snatched Jiraiya's 3rd kunai out of the air and threw it back at the 4th. A resounding clang was heard upon impact. Jiraiya nodded with satisfaction. "How did I do? I'll give you your overall score when I finish with them all," he informed the blonde. He then held up a few rocks in his hand. There were about 10 of them. "I'll test your pain tolerance and your endurance test. I'm going to pelt these rocks at you, and when you think you can't handle any more hits, just say when," Jiraiya instructed. The disciple of the Gamasenin nodded before slipping into the stance Jiraiya had made when he was doing his strength test earlier. He then tensed his muscles and nodded to the black-eyed man. Jiraiya hurled the rocks. 1, 2, 3. They struck Naruto with amazing force, but Naruto refused to go down. His determination and pride refused to let him do so. 4, 5, 6, 7. The 4 stones hit him in the chest simultaneously and Naruto gritted his teeth, but suddenly released a heavy oof as the 8th and 9th struck him in the solar plexus hard enough to knock the wind out of his lungs. He coughed as he aimed to retrieve the oxygen and looked up at his teacher. "When?" he wheezed out, earning a chuckle from Jiraiya as well as from his 2 tenants. "Now for your final test. Stealth. I've heard of your pranks, Gaki, and I gotta say I'm impressed from what I've heard. At the age of 6 you were able to sneak into the Hyuga compound and hit them with glitter cannons and rainbow paint. Able to make the Naras look like giant chickens with the classic glue and feathers with a red rubber glove atop the head and a yellow paper cone for a bee. Venture into the academy, which is guarded by a few high-level chunin, and stick all the chairs up against the ceiling by nailing them down ... or up I should say. At age 7, you broke into the Uchiha compound and face-painted all of them in their sleep so that they had mustaches, monocles, and whatnot on their faces, as well as plastering a clown face onto Uchiha Fugaku's face. Jiraiya and Naruto laughed as the white-haired man listed all of Naruto's most notable accomplishments as a master prankster before stopping at the final one. In the coup de resistance, at the age of 12 ... 2 years ago ... on the day before you became a genin. Oh boy, I really laughed when I heard about this one. You were wearing that." He pointed at Naruto's jumpsuit. "Horrid orange piece of shit you call a jumpsuit, in fucking broad daylight, and you painted the fucking Hokage monument." Naruto blushed in embarrassment before registering what he said. "Oi, what's wrong with orange?" he growled out, huffing in mock anger at his sensei. Jiraiya chuckled before ruffling Naruto's hair. "This thing has done me wonders and I still haven't gotten caught. Well then, if you want to prove me wrong about the orange piece of shit ... then hide. I'll give you 10 seconds to hide from me, and then I'm going to see how long it will take me to find you. However, I'm going to put a limit as to how far away you can hide. About a 10-meter radius should be suitable," and Jiraiya smirked evilly, causing Naruto to shudder in his mind. "I'm going to make this a game. If you exceed that radius, or if I am able to find you within 1 hour, I will teach you a Fuinjutsu technique that the Yondaime knew." Naruto grinned and bounced up and down. "Really? Let's go. Wait ... if you lose, however." Naruto frowned as Jiraiya uttered the L word. "You will have to read my Ika Ika Paradise Volume 1. Admit that Ika Ika Paradise is a good novel and that I, the author, am a god among men for writing them." Naruto's eyes widened and his jaw hung loosely. He couldn't ... it wouldn't be possible. He couldn't say those things to the perverted man. It just wasn't humanly possible for a boy like Naruto to. The blonde shuddered compliment the pervert on his literary works, but he weighed his options. On the plus side, he could learn a cool jutsu. On the con's end of the scale, he would have to swallow his pride and compliment the pervert for his perverted deeds. Jetsu ... or read a piece of smut. He muttered this to himself before sighing and complied with the bet. Jiraiya grinned wider at that. Okay then, ready? He asked. Naruto grinned like the biju within him. Stealth was his element. There was no way he'd pass up the chance to hide from a member of the Sannin. You know it, Hirosenin, Naruto exclaimed, jumping to release some excess excitement. Jiraiya held up 10 fingers as he told Naruto to go. However, as soon as Jiraiya blinked ... he realized he made a very grave mistake. The boy had disappeared within that split second, and Jiraiya's face paled slightly as he tried to feel for the blonde's chakra. Impossible ... he's able to suppress that large chakra supply of his. Just what the hell is this gaki? He thought as he began his search for the blonde. XXX. 1 hour later, Jiraiya scowled as Naruto was riding atop the older man's shoulders on their way back to the campsite. Hirosenin lost. I'm going to get a cool Fuinjutsu too, Databao. He laughed. Jiraiya's eye twitched. I can't believe it. I'm a seasoned ninja, a cage-level ninja, and a member of the Sannin ... and yet I was unable to find a dumbass of a 14-year-old brat still getting his ears wet as a shinobi. Jiraiya muttered. I resent that comment about being a dumbass, Hirosenin. Naruto deadpanned. Now I see why those Anbu have good reasons as to why they were unable to catch you. Jiraiya said as he dropped down with Naruto, and the blonde was roughly dropped down on the ground as he had fallen off of the older man's shoulders. Hit I, Hirosenin, that hurt, Naruto said as he rubbed his hurting cranium. The two males then looked up at the sky and noticed that it was almost sundown if the sky's color was any indication. No longer was it blue, but reds, yellows, and shades of magenta were beginning to bleed into the expanse of blue. Jiraiya then walked over to the sizable pile of firewood and threw in a few sticks within the already prepared set he had made prior to Naruto's tests. He then set it aflame with a small katen jutsu. So how did I do, Hirosenin? He said he'd give me my overall results when we were finished. He said. Jiraiya nodded as he sat down on the grass next to Naruto. Now Naruto, you are good shinobi, but it appears that whoever was your Jounin sensei didn't do a very good job since you appeared to be self-taught. Kakashi was your sensei, right? He asked. Naruto frowned and nodded. All he taught me was tree climbing. There were a few team-building exercises and he made us do a few tactical training drills, but there was nothing he taught me and Sakura-chan individually. Everything was given to the team. I know he needed to train him with the Sharingan, but he got Taijutsu training, he got speed enhancement training. Chidori. Naruto held his hand up to his chest where the Uchiha had stabbed him in the chest at the Valley of the End. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. He would have to have a word with the silver-haired scarecrow when the trip was over. Hey Gaki, listen, the Uchiha Gaki may have gotten all that shit, but you're training with me now. You're going to learn some epic stuff that's going to make the Uchiha look like he was still a newborn. And plus, Rasengan trumps the Chidori any day. He smirked. Naruto chuckled. Arigato, Hirosenin. I needed to hear that. Jiraiya ruffled the blonde's hair. Sure thing, Gaki. Well, moving along ... the results of your tests. I will be putting you on a scale from Genin to Jounin since your abilities do not exceed that of an Anbu or Cage. Well, actually, stealth and chakra supply are in those levels, but other than those two. Naruto nodded. Alright, your strength. Your strength, I would place you at low Chunin level. You're a rather strong boy, Naruto, even for a kid of your age and the lifestyle you had and given your diet. However, when Sarutobi-sensei was still alive, he told me you had a ramen-based diet with only milk and a few vegetables to add variety to your diet. So to build up your strength, you will be given a better diet. Protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals, for example. Naruto was about to yell out against being denied his beloved ramen, but was silenced by Jiraiya's hard stare. Naruto, you can't keep having ramen all the time. It's the reason why you're shorter than everyone else in your age group. No doubt that by the time this is over with, you'll be at least up to my cheek in terms of height, and I'm past 6 feet tall. Fine, Naruto huffed, but can I at least have it sometimes? Another school day. Issei woke up, now having a more personal interaction with Asia, whom he filled in on his relationship with Koneko, and that she was happy about it, not avoiding reminding him about how Rias is patiently waiting for him, to then get jealous when she heard that they had been together for 2 months. They bathed together, as the blonde didn't want to be left behind in the relationship, and they both had their first intimate experiences with the cat without falling behind in the process. Issei didn't say anything about it, but seeing them both smile was surely for something positive in their actions. They all had breakfast together, and then it was when Issei realized that his mother and father were watching him with complicit smiles at the sight of the three of them together. An epiphany came over him as he understood that they realized about his relationship with Koneko, and as he looked at her he understood that she was responsible for that. The classes were unremarkable, all quiet, and at recess, even more so when Issei lay down in the courtyard and both girls accompanied him. The rumors only grew. Finally, the story you owe us, Sona commented casually as she put down her book and settled into her seat. The three of them had a drop on the back of their heads from the tea cart and the seats that were now in the place. After class, the pair made their way to the student council room along with Asia. This one was surprised at everyone's knowledge of Issei and Koneko's relationship, being him who informed about his recent courtship with Asia while kissing her hand, to the blonde sorrow, everyone's grace, and Saji's envy who cried blood. "I guess it's fitting to go to how it all started, right?" suggested Koneko as she sat on the couch, eating chocolates. Issei and the blonde looked at this one intently, since even they didn't know that. It happened sometime after the confrontation between Sona Kaichu and Ria's Butchu. Thanks to Issei, I was able to accept my nature and embrace my power as my own to help others, learning to master it. He accepted me as I am, not realizing that I fell in love with him for how willing he was to swear to me that he would be my help for the rest of my life, finally showing me the kind of person he was from the bottom of his heart, that he would not leave me alone, that he would help me through everything, even if he died. What kind of person says that without expecting that the other would value it fervently? Everyone smiled at such words while Issei was quickly embarrassed by such admiration. She took his hand and sat sideways, her facing his profile, her hands taking his, embracing her lovingly as her fingers try to shelter him, to give him her warmth, even clinging to each other gently as he rejects that warmth and catches her fingers intertwining them with those of one of her hands. "In spite of all that, I will be your shield. If you lose control of your Nekomata power, I will stop you, even if I die in vain or in the attempt. Since I cannot use this power for myself, even if I do not wish to do so, I can give it to my friends. Even if your sister returns, I will do my best to save you. Just remember that when you need me, I'll be there. Those were your words, if we ignore your self-deprecation from before," she repeated happily, getting Asia to gently assist as she understood that what happened with Koneko was similar to her. "After that, I kept thinking about him. And then, one day, you came back soaking wet from a day of contracts. When I called you, you looked so different, terrified, for no reason, that it worried me." Issei opened his eyes in resolution and sighed at that. They all looked at him doubtfully. Then he smiled at Koneko's noticeable anxiety to hear a possible explanation. I thought you were upset because I was looking at Butchu and Akino-san's breasts. My mistake." Silence. Issei's foot was crushed by two pistons and he couldn't help but scream in pain from it. Hey, why? Why are you hitting me? You had said I could see without any problems if I wasn't so blatant. What about that now? Now we're flirting, asshole, they exclaimed, enraged, cowing the boy quickly. "I'm so sorry for being a hopeless pervert," he muttered under his breath, trying to pass unnoticed out of grief as he looked at the floor. "It's true about the looks, though. I always feared, I still fear, that mocking looks would be exerted on me to humiliate me and even scold me in abusive and excessive ways at any time," he explained as he resumed the seriousness of the situation. They all watched as Koneko was surprised and looked at him with concern for saying his current vulnerability so easily. The latter smiled reassuringly as he stroked her head. "Issei, it's okay, I'm sure to talk about this. It's already been too long for me to let it go. Despite fighting this, I still know I can move on. For you, because you showed me that I can make it. For Asia and the others, who deserve to know the truth." She relented, but didn't fail to make sure of everything by hugging him and being greeted in the same way next to Asia. Everyone was intrigued by such a fearful attitude about the boy's condition. "Everyone I think knows that when I entered the supernatural world it was for being killed by Rainier, a fallen angel who briefly was my girlfriend to idolize and taunt me. Which was just what she did when she made me suffer until she murdered me." Silence greeted those present. Saji was shocked and even more so at the looks of understanding and surprise from Sona and Asia respectively. Koneko held back an abrasive anger as she squeezed the boy's clothes, who smiled in melancholy as he recalled the moments he spent the night that changed his life forever. "Now I understand why you valued Asia-kun so much," Sona deduced at that. "You both suffered for her. Asia was my shield to keep me from despairing. I developed a trauma, a constant fear of women and a total self-loathing about myself," explained the boy quickly, getting Sona to assist in understanding everything and Saji to look at him, incredulous at how his friend could hide something like that. "Whenever I was called by women, I was always afraid it was to make fun of me or to scold me for whatever I had done. Even when Ria's, Akino or Asia seduced me, I feared it was only to tease me and, to make it worse, stab me afterwards like Rainier did. Ria-sama never did such a thing, but I was not in my best state to realize that, as I always estimated that I never was and would be enough to be with someone. Besides, I always believed she used me for being the Sekiryute, giving me considerations for my power and affection as Gremories used to be. I considered dying alone, being an object that could only take pleasure from perversion." They all looked at him, overwhelmed. The boy who most wanted to live in peace and who struggled to achieve it, aspiring to be a self-proclaimed harem king, demonstrating such a sad and desolate attitude. This one smiled slightly, with some tension at how everyone now understood several things apparently and even felt bad for having heard that. "After noticing his attitudes, I understood that what happened with Rainier left a mark somehow, and I set out to resolve it so that he could get out of his spiral of fear." Koneko continued when she noticed that everyone could take it in. "Then you started to seek me out and live with me more." He understood. "So that's why you did it. Don't get it wrong, I was still planning to do it because I had fallen in love with you and I really wanted to be closer to you." she explained to him quickly, seriously determined. He smiled and stroked her head at that. As I got closer, I searched for information. I wanted to get to know you from what the others knew, and then I approached you directly. Finally, I got to know you well enough and began to pry with your parents. From them you learned about my love shyness. He consulted with a smile, guessing that perhaps these would have said something like that. No, I found out from your scrapbook box, she confessed with an amused smile that surprised Issei and embarrassed him completely. Ouch. In my defense, it's kind of useful. And it was rather immature. He pitifully defended himself, the poor boy, embarrassed by how everyone was looking at him, interested to know about it. An immature one with very sweet and honeyed love thoughts. Koneko acknowledged with a sweet smile, embarrassing him even more, and seeing that he couldn't escape, he covered his face. Scrapbook box. Sona consulted, interested in the boy's reactions. Koneko then explained, much to the chestnut's chagrin. It seems that, in the family, Issei was given a box of clippings and analysis for potential interesting and exciting appointments. It's something that has been passed down from his paternal grandfather until now. It keeps getting modernized and passed down from generation to generation. The fact that the boy had practically shrunk from grief showed that Kaneko's words were true. Sona then looked at the boy seriously and decided to act. Given this, I can deduce that you used it on Rainier back then. That comment completely worried the boy's girlfriends, who was pleasantly surprised to sigh with some embarrassment as he noticed Sona's suspicion and how she evaluated his state. Yes, I even had the audacity to imagine a future with her. No doubt my expectations were high, he acknowledged with some self-deprecation, chuckling slightly with amusement. Then, when everything was going well, she asked me to die right in the park where the date was ending. And there she stabbed me until I bled to death while taunting me. He explained with a bitter smile. I'm grateful to Koneko for helping me get over it and acknowledging it. Even more so to Rias for allowing me to live the new life I've been given. If it wasn't for Asia, I wouldn't have lasted long in this world with my problems. Less so without Akino's affections that allowed me to get used to women in the process. To be honest, the most excruciating thing about it all was the thought that I would die alone. Some of Sona's handmaidens shed some tears out of grief at such a story, and Saji looked at Issei with understanding and support. Sona wiped her glasses, perhaps after wiping her eyes with the few tears that peeked out. I'm sorry you had that terrible experience, Issei-kun. From the bottom of my heart, I apologize for not being able to do something about it since this happened under my care of this city. Sincerely commented the president with a serious expression, perhaps guilty because such a situation happened right under her nose and in her territory, being demonstrated when she stood up and bowed towards him. All surprised by her act, just as she decided to speak again. However, I am glad to see that you have been able to let go and even not hate the fallen angels for what happened. There is no need for grief about my past situation. It happened and I can't do anything to change it. In some possibility of going back to the past, I would just try not to let anyone go through the horrible experiences they have suffered back then because of my weakness as a demon. It is very noble and mature to hear such thoughts, she acknowledged with a faint smile. Despite noticing traces of self-loathing still in you, I try to notice it. It's hard. Koneko often says that I'm all that if I'm evaded by perverted attitudes. But, let's be honest, would I be me without them? No one could help but laugh at that, for it was true. Without perversion, Hayato Issei could not be Hayato Issei. Since I already knew almost everything about Issei, all that was left was to get him to open up to me. It was difficult, but I finally succeeded. Koneko finished with a smile. Oh, it wasn't that hard. Issei argued with a grimace and a marked vein. It made him look like a weirdo. I was getting carried away. He finally grumbled, offended. Just as Koneko was about to scoff at that comment, Sona stood up from her seat, looking at the window seriously. It looked like something had happened, and judging by how the cat had shown her attention earnestly to the same spot, it had to be serious. We should go, Sona explained with no options for the three of them, who quickly rose to be teleported with her in a magical circle. As they reappear, surprise overwhelms Issei and Asia. Koneko and Sona look serious, as they seem to have only just learned of this from their abilities. Surely Kaneko's sense of smell quickly warned her of the situation. Rias was serious, Akino was making tea with feigned tranquility, and Kiba seemed attentive to any movement in the area, keeping his feigned tranquility, disguised by his usual chivalry. Across from them, Deodora Esteroth was sitting on a sofa with a calm and friendly smile. Issei, Koneko and Sona had arrived and were watching both demon masters in front of them. Eyes were discreetly on Issei, somewhat surprised at how he was reacting to the unexpected encounter. Sitting on a couch far away, he had his arms stretched over the backrests where Koneko and Asia were, almost leaning on him, while his serious and even abrasive gaze was riveted on the demon who was ignoring him. Ria-san, I'm going to say it plainly. I'd like to trade bishops. The backrest was noisily squeezed by Issei's hands, Sona being the one who held her gaze on him while trying not to smile, something caught by Azazel and Kiba, who were pleasantly surprised. Asia pressed herself against Issei, and Koneko was sensible and calm, analyzing her boyfriend when she could so that he wouldn't act on any impulse that would complicate the situation. Gasper would be squealing, except that he understood where this was going, and only clung to Zenobia, who was standing next to Kiba. The servant I'm looking for from Ria-san is the bishop, Asia Argento, he declared as he smiled refreshingly towards the blonde. The latter clung to Issei in a straightforward manner, surprising Rias for being reciprocated, something that filled her with jealousy. Given this, I offer. I thought so, Rias acknowledged, seriously. She seemed annoyed under her wake of seriousness or professionalism. But I'm sorry. I thought I should tell you before you show me the catalog with your servants, so I'll tell you up front. I have no intention of conducting a trade. It's not that I don't like your bishops, but I don't want to lose Asia. She is one of my most important demonic servants. Rias attacked with everything, steadfast and upright in front of her loved ones, just as Issei always admired her. He couldn't help but smile happily at the redhead's words. Is it because of her ability or her person? The demon in front of her consulted, interested. Both. I think of her as a sister, she confirmed without hesitation, managing to make the blonde tear up with happiness, something pleasing for the redhead who doesn't disguise her smile and tranquility when she manages to reassure the girl. We live together. I'm very fond of her and I don't want to let her go. Would that be a good reason? I think that's reason enough. I can't understand why you are trying to get Asia through me by such a method, Deodora. Do you understand the meaning of this proposal? Because I am figuring it out. Rias maintained her serenity, but amidst that dialect, she perfectly demonstrated her annoyance. The fact of wanting to take Asia without getting the blonde to decide to go of her own free will. Sona smiled slightly, noticing that defensive attitude of her friend, something usual when it came to defend her loved ones. Something not in contrast to Hayato, which was similar if you evaded the dialect and went physical. Deodora still had his smile. That makes the whole situation creepy in the eyes of the chestnut and Kiba, who doesn't disguise his intentions to harm himself at the slightest hostile movement. I understand. I'll leave for the day, but I'm not giving up. Given this, he stood up and walked towards the three of them. Towards Asia. Issei could take no more. His breathing had quickened and his hostility had become present with every step taken. He had stood up, bursting the backrest as he ripped it off with his hands, filling Azazel and Sona with interest in the process at the behavior and intentions of the chestnut, who seemed to explode with anger, and immediately stepped in the way, which showed in him a tremor in his smile as he noticed that he couldn't step over the dragon without a bit of sass. Asia, all my letters and dedications, did you read them? He consulted this one as he ignored the chestnut in front of him. I love you. It's okay, fate won't betray us. Even if everyone in this world rejects us, I will defeat them, no matter what. Asia was a sweet, kind girl, someone who always gave time to whoever needed it and offered it to her. Surely she would have read them and even planned to respond. No, I didn't, she expressed as she stood up, next to Koneko, who was holding her hand to encourage her. Due to circumstances, I couldn't tell you earlier, but I'm not in love with you. Please give up on this. The blonde's words surprised everyone. Azazel smiled slightly as he understood everything perfectly, even more so when he saw the discreet smile of Sona, who seemed to have known something for a while. This was entertaining. Rias and Akino seemed totally baffled by her attitude, more they finally understood that Issei was giving her courage with his attitude. I see. How about this? If I defeat the Sekyute, Hayato Issei, would you give me a chance? No. In such a case, I would hate you for trying this way. She confessed with complete honesty and seriousness, something overwhelming for several as she was the most innocent and kindest girl in the group. I helped you that time and my life changed completely. Now it only remains for me to move forward with those who helped me in the present and whom I love. I hope you can understand. But we can try to be friends. Deodora smiled and trembled, and his narrowed eyes finally showed the lead of his red irises. Pure malice welled up in the direction of Issei, who hadn't taken his gaze off him since they had arrived, letting a green gleam show in his hazel eyes as he clenched his fists with a force that made them tremble slightly, demonstrating the anger held back since he had arrived. Then, Azazel's cell phone rang, drawing the attention of those who wanted to avoid seeing such tension. After a few exchanges of words, it spoke, noting that Issei and Deodora had not taken their gazes off each other even in such distraction. Rias, Deodora, good news. The date for the match has been decided. It's in 5 days. After the demon withdrew with a bitter rejection, silence ruled the room. Asia seemed about to faint, being saved by Koneko and Issei, who acted quickly to prevent it. Sona was observing everything, being Rias, who approached her with interest to know what she was doing with her servants when she appeared. Azazel was analyzing the chestnut from a distance, having a thorn still with him that he wanted to discuss with him. The bike ride was not something that bothered Issei. Despite being able to use magic circles, he really enjoyed the atmosphere, and his customers loved that he was known as such, the bike demon. He had gained a reputation for it. It was also the fact that Koneko was accompanying him today that was interesting. Several times, after the contracts, Issei would go looking for the girl to have some time together. They were approaching a dispenser when Koneko pressed herself even tighter against him, much to his surprise. Enemies, she confirmed. The white dragon, the one with the staff. Issei stops the course. Truth be told, he understands that they are coming for him just by the fact that Koneko named them. However, are you going? Koneko wondered with concern over her partner's reckless decision. They're not coming to fight, he confirmed, calm, or at least it seemed that way. It's a hunch, trust me. To the cat's dismay, she sighed and trusted her boyfriend. She hoped and they weren't wrong about this, or there would be trouble. Arriving at the entrance to the hallway where the vending machine was, Issei looked around. It was clear they were here by the unnatural silence of the environment. A barrier. Well, I'm here now. Are you guys coming out or do you want to ambush me before I show up? Biku came out almost instantly, somewhat annoyed by Issei's seriousness. He seemed bored in his gait and the disinterested movement of his cane as he pointed it at him. I came to accompany Volley and he promised me we were going to catch you off guard to give you a scare. What a bummer. Koneko secured her hand with Issei's and he continued to stare at him. The chestnut only shook his head and pointed behind the monkey with his head, where Volley came out with a calm smile. The white genie. What do you want? You're obviously not looking for a fight. At least not here. Much less would you have let me go looking for her, and judging by the fact that it's just the two of you, then you're not coming for Koneko. Volley raised his eyebrows, interested by the chestnut's deduction, finally relaxing even more when he noticed that the latter had no hostile intentions but was ready to flee when the need arose. I heard you achieved full balance breaker. It makes me happy. Anything that involves fighting and underestimating me makes you happy. The chestnut replied scathingly, barely disguising his annoyance at that sarcastic remark. You still haven't told me what you want. Unless you don't mind me leaving, which is better for me, and maybe my hunch that you were coming for something interesting was nothing more than just idiocy. Just as Issei began to back away, Volley dropped his relaxed posture and spoke calmly, feigning disinterest. I hear you're going to have a rating game. Started this one, being stopped by Issei who was looking tired. To the point, Mr. Mysterious. I don't have time. My girlfriend and I want to leave, you know. Silence. Volley was pleasantly surprised to notice that he mentioned Koneko as such, and Koneko blushed fully at that, looking at the boy and then at the duo, and so on several times in panic. Biku's eyes were wide at such a casual statement, and he noticed that even his boss was thrown off by the news. Tiroka will kill you. The white-haired man warned him unabashedly when he was able to compose himself from the surprise. His eyes still wide at the statement, until he remembered why he came and coughed to regain his confident composure before Biku, who smiled with some amusement at the silver-haired man's reaction. Anyway, your enemy is the next heir to the house of Astaroth. You must be careful. The gears in Issei's skull began to move with those words. They had seen all the videos of Deodora's rating game, and the last one was stranger in totality. He defeated the Era Sagairs by sheer brute force, something that made no sense when in his previous fights he never managed anything like that or even managed to make it last for everyone to fear him. Koneko had helped him all this time to analyze the words of others and even their actions and intentions. It wasn't much, as she wasn't an expert in things like that, but it was helpful. He has something to do with the Chaos Brigade. Issei understood, which gave her girlfriend resolution to be surprised as well, as her boyfriend thought it through rather quickly. Volley smiled, pleased at such an insight he never expected from the chestnut. Even Biku couldn't help but open his mouth in surprise. You've changed quite a bit in 2 months. I have to assume she's responsible. He acknowledged respectfully. He seemed pleased to see Issei improve. You have no idea. Issei confirmed in a whisper. More will be coming soon, I'm sure. Changes or women? He consulted with some mockery. To his bad luck, Issei laughed heavily at that. Both. Silence. Volley looked at him as if he felt sorry for him and sighed, retreating with Biku. You didn't hear anything from me. That guy is weird, muttered Dedrag matter-of-factly. They both nodded at that. Well, you're weird too. Was it a good idea to tell him about your relationship? Hey, that's rude. Don't nod, Nee. It's not true. However, you're the first carrier I've ever conversed with so animatedly. It's strange, I like it. You don't treat me as a tool, but as a being. But if you are a being, you piece of fool. Let's go. Let's get ready to face Deodora. Coo. You certainly are weird and funny, partner. Finally, they both arrived at the club and informed the surprised Rias of the situation. After the latter notified Surzurch and Azazel as a warning, it was time to return. You've gotten really strong, Issei. You couldn't do these things before. You've really come a long way. Rias acknowledged with a blushing smile as he leaned back against the boy's back. Well, I never had girls to ride bikes with, so, joked the boy with some recognition of his current situation. Rias was riding behind while Koneko was sitting on the handlebars. Issei pedaled with complete calmness and ease in his riding as he watched from the cat girl's sides. Reporting this won't be easy without proof, so all that's left for us to do is prepare. Rias explained to everyone's regret at that fact. If you guys are dedicated to protecting Asia, I'll take it upon myself to stop him. Issei-senpai is quick to act when he's unattached. Koneko commented as Rias nodded, agreeing with her. Oh, Rias-sama, don't give her the reason. Arriving, the three of them went inside, and when they reached the room, all the surprise overwhelmed them. Issei received a nosebleed quickly at the powerful image of Akino in an almost too exposed sensual outfit. Ara, Aiz-kun, welcome home. And what a welcome, murmured this one complacently as he recorded in his mind what he saw and smiled with a certain wicked, lost look at what Rias and Koneko were upset about it. I owed you. You told me you liked it, and since we won against Sona Kaichu, then here's your prize, expressed the tight-suited beauty as she spun around on herself, snuggling up with her back to Issei, who surprisingly responded by clinging on and indulging in groping her hips. Ara, looks like Issei-kun isn't the only lively one right now. Do you want a watching session? Or shall we move on to the bed party with touching aloud? In response, Issei-kun's hand slid down her abdomen, caressing her belly, drawing a surprised gasp from such a delicate and unexpected act. I hope then that this party has the time of one. He whispered against her ear, choking her for the pleasure, forcing her to cross her arms behind her back, crossing her fingers against Issei's hair, pulling him closer to her. A few hours. Exactly. Issei-kun. Yeah, I think it's going to be a long night, he murmured as he caressed her breasts with concentration. It was then that his gaze lifted and he noticed how Asia and Zenobia were dressed similarly. Koneko peeked out in a succubus outfit, looking firm about it. They all watched in an attentive and even embarrassed manner at the interaction of the two. The feline was the one who held the gaze with some amusement that he returned when he noticed her. Rias appeared with another outfit built in, just like Kaneko's, which surprised her when she noticed that she knew about Issei's tastes in regards to kinky. Now it's my turn, the redhead exclaimed, usurping a hand from her queen's chest to place it on hers. Issei laughed like stupid and Akino was amused by her friend's attitude. Then I'll have to change tactics. Leave it to me, Issei. A woman can't afford to lose like that. But don't even think about it. Rias chased after her, starting the fight between the two. Asia and Kaneko quickly approached, seeing Zenobia distracted by the two's show, and dragged her and Issei out of the room. Such a missed opportunity, the chestnut lamented. Issei, if you keep this up, there will be no groping tonight, the white-haired girl said cheekily with some annoyance as she moved her piece around the game and rearranged herself on the boy's lap to remind him of her existence. The game is in 5 days. It's too soon. Zenobia manages to gain attention as, half-naked, she continues to play the game and think. Hey, come to think of it, aren't the three of you guys really stuck together lately, or have you always been like this? And before they can pay attention to Irina's doubt, Rias enters with tangled clothes and a noticeable regret. Everyone wonders if she finally stopped the two's discussion upon seeing that. I know we talked about this, Issei, but another unexpected thing accosted us. This time I didn't know about it in advance. Issei sighed resignedly at her mistress' words and she broke the news when everyone looked curious. We'll be interviewed in the underworld and we'll be on television. It should be noted that no one even saw it coming. Issei looked at himself in the mirror calmly. He wore a gown as he practiced the expressions on his face, in this case a smile that will be useful to camouflage his nerves when he sees interviewers or the press in particular. Devil's television. No different than what humanity usually has, and even the internet is similar, but, even in such comparisons, he can't calm himself in knowing that it will still be the same on both sides. He was never on television, damn it. Kaneko, where are you when you're needed? Oh, right, she was practicing too. A hug catches his attention. This one is double and goes from his hip, leading him to understand the one's responsible for it. Just when I get desperate, you always show up. You look great, girls. Riasama is on his way, Kaneko warned as she hugged him enough to feel full. We're just passing through. Sounds very cruel, Kaneko-chan. Asia acknowledged with some pity at how the boy was quickly discouraged at the assumption that the two of them would be leaving. You must calm down, Issei-san. When you feel ready, go get her. Despite the words of the two, who quickly left as if they were finishing a prank, Issei is only left staring at the mirror earnestly about a topic he never discussed with himself. Rias loved him, he loved her too. Why the hell did he still have so many insecurities? Kaneko and Asia assured him that there was no way she could reject him, since they, being women, understood how she felt. They even explained that her ignorant rejections have been hurting her for a long time and it was time he knew when to resolve it. A hug catches him and this is the most awaited one. The feeling of breasts, memorized by his body, makes him fully understand who it is. What are you doing, Issei? She consulted with calmness and a smile that knocked down the boy's defenses as he noticed her from the mirror, her leaning against his shoulder, both of them looking like a couple, perhaps much more than that if he dared to dream. She noticed the tie folded to the side and quietly accommodated him as the boy tried to pray something to keep from getting aroused by the touches of his mistress rubbing her hands shamelessly over his toned body. I am practicing expressions so I don't make mistakes. Foo. It's okay. You can answer normally when they ask you a question, since I don't think they'll be asked anything too specific. The one who will get most of the questions will most likely be me. You know, I'm a Gremory. And a beauty, if I can bring myself to admit it. Confessed this one as he closed his eyes, hoping her reaction wasn't something negative. Silence cornered him along with fear, but it was too late to contradict himself. He didn't know what to do, but feeling the embrace against him tighten made him venture to open them. A kiss on the cheek, marked by Ria's lipstick, was the trail she left to dazzle him. She, totally embarrassed, as she showed a shy expression and clung to him, trying to cover her face. Thanks for the compliment, Issei, she murmured shyly, making the boy's heart pump hard as he felt her inhale his neck to cover herself. I really appreciate your opinion. It was just my sincere appreciation for Rias-sama, he confessed, trying to dig a little deeper into the situation. My name, she whispered happily. You call me by my name. I thought it was necessary to stop calling you but you before certain events. Your mother made it clear to me that it would embarrass you. He recalled with some amusement as he understood Ria's mother's intentions. Of her family in general, are there any claims to that? Just one, she said as she slid her cheek down the boy's neck, denoting in her whole attitude much happiness. Start calling me Rias when we're alone. Just the two of us. You can say it in front of the rest if you want, but if it's something intimate between the two of us, it would be best. I understand. I hope to meet your expectations. Issei. At those last words, she turned him around, startling him, to receive a kiss against his lips that brought him out of all his senses and encouraged. He returned it almost swiftly, and the redhead hardly even hesitated to latch onto the boy's suit to begin using her tongue in the matter. Again, Issei was quick to respond to it. After a few seconds of tugging at his suit to get attached to each other, they broke apart, completely overwhelmed by the agitation of the kiss and the unexpectedness of both parties. She hit against his suit and he stroked her bare back as he tried to calm down and comprehend what had happened. "Wow," he muttered as never, unable to say anything else. "What was that?" Back at the house, I got really jealous of how you were touching Akino and defending Asia, you know. I just watched, longing for you to do that to me sometime." Were there enough words to make clear Ria's desire for the guy? He understood with some relaxation and only returned the embrace, with a little more strength to her surprise, noticing that he began to sob against her shoulder. His mind was no longer playing tricks on him. There were no irrational double entendres that he imagined. It was just Ria's Gremory being honest with him. "Issei," she wondered, worried. "What's wrong? Was it something I said?" "Rias, I'm so happy to have met you," he confessed between sobs as she was totally frozen at his words. "Thanks to you I can live to the fullest, meet many friends, even strive day by day to be something better of myself. However, I am very perverted, even reckless. I always jump into action at the first opportunity. I am careless and very troublesome. I bring problems to everyone, all because my matchstick head can't think hard enough." "Issei," she exclaimed suddenly, pulling him apart and wiping away his tears with her hands as she tries not to cry at the sight of the boy in such a deplorable state about himself. "This is all your charm. You are a man with a big heart, despite your great perversion that often hides it. But that's part of your charm, too, showing all that you are to those who are willing to get to know you. That's honestly a nice thing, and it's what made me fall in love with you." He muttered, steeling himself. "She said it, now all you have to do is spit it out. Do it already. Fuck, Hayato Issei. Scream it the fuck out." Rainier, woman who ruined his dreams and his outlook on life and women, today, Hayato Issei, finally leaves you behind. Damn, he tries to say, still covered in fear, wanting to say it, wanting to shout it. Longing to leave behind those black wings that took everything from him once. She grabs him by the face to look him in the eyes, concerned about the trail of dark energy pouring from the man's body. The white tail that breaks through his soul and transforms into a curious cat who plucked up the courage to be his friend, lover and, finally, girlfriend. Koneko, who has been with him all this time, pushed him to where he was, to Asia and then to Rias. She is the one he should have as a reference for his future, forever. As if a black thorn in his heart finally disappears, Issei sheds tears of emotion and pure will. His words, his honesty, only he alone should be able to do this. His duty is to say it, to answer her. "Rias, I love you," he exclaimed with all the strength of his vocal cords, towards the ground. Her hands quickly pulling him to her breasts that receive the Issei's face gently. The silence does not last long. Ria's sobs worry him but mean nothing as she holds the embrace and kisses his hair with emotion. "Issei," she murmured through tears that were falling on his head rapidly. "Do you love me? I thought you never made it clear to me." He understood. All along he had avoided the relationship, the gestures, the intentions. He knows he needs to explain that, but it's not the time in his eyes. "I know," he confesses, finally liberated. Happy, despite how tired he was. At peace with himself, with whatever he can say from now on. "It took me a long time to understand what I was doing. I'm so sorry. I hurt you, like the others. To Asia, to Koneko, to Akino. I honestly thought I wasn't worth enough to be together with you, and that's why I held back to keep my emotions and desires bottled up. Rainier wouldn't leave me alone, even after she was dead, and all I could think was that I was worthless and would always be used by women to please them, being just a measly toy." "What, Rainier?" she wondered as she pulled away a little, holding his face with both hands, noticing a peace and relaxation in him that she'd never had before and seemed to have just welcomed it herself. It's a long story," he acknowledged calmly, wiping away the tears that kept flowing down his eyes. "Koneko helped me with that, and I've been having an affair with her ever since. She ventured me to confess to Asia, whom I sought out recently because of the pressure of this whole thing with Deodora. I thought it would take much longer with you because of my insecurities, but I'm so glad to finally be able to tell you. To explain to you that you are one of the women I love, Rias." She then seems to fit pieces together and laughs softly as she understands everything. She takes Issei's hand, who gives it to her so they can both stand up, due to kneeling on the ground without remembering. She smiles happily and he gives it back to her without much more to say. He ventures and kisses her quickly on the corner of her lips. She is surprised but doesn't even hesitate to return it. In a second, looking into each other's eyes, wildly returns them to a tongue kiss that they don't know where it came from inside them. Perhaps the lust that had been kept in both of them all this time, the one that was due to the deep attachment they had for each other and had longed for. Issei's hands slide down the sides of Ria's dress, ruffling the skin of her bare back as she pushes him onto the couch to enjoy the closeness more. He falls into a sitting position and she is quick to kneel over him, kissing him lustfully as he is encouraged to slide his hands under her dress, drawing a gasp from her as he brazenly caresses the lace of her stockings with a precision that screamed he would tear them at her slightest desire. However, her hand on his chest reminds him of the spot, despite the fact that they can't stop kissing like animals desirous of each other. It is then that the door opens unexpectedly. Azazel, who had entered with total tranquility thinking that the boy was alone, only to witness before him the scene of the century. "Oh, guys, I remind you to use protection and that we are in a TV studio, don't mess anything up. Get the hell out of here already," they both exclaimed, totally embarrassed. Finally, they both left a few minutes after Azazel, dressed up, happy, and together. Onto a new stage. "When we get back home, do you want to talk about that whole Rainier thing?" Issei feels totally at ease. There is no longer any discomfort or melancholy in hearing it, and he is totally free about it, as just another topic in his day-to-day life. "I plan to explain to you all about it in the future, but I have a feeling that Azazel knows more about it and I would like to discuss it with him as well. For now, I ask you to be patient about it. Sona-sama also knows about all this, since she was the first to discover my romance with Koneko. That and the news in the newspaper that leaves him alluded to as her doing." "That's interesting," Rias acknowledges, thoughtfully. Issei doesn't understand that gesture and his curiosity is assured at Ria's suspicious smile. "Is something wrong?" No, but I plan to talk to Sona later. You leave it to me." "Huh, what do you mean?" Arriving in the living room, all eyes go to the couple. Doubtful glances at the clasped hands of the two, intimate to say the least. Asia and Koneko quickly get up and approach to find out about the kiss Issei had marked on his face, drawing an amused smile at the jealousy of both, who managed to mark each one immediately by bending down. Akino finally joins in for fun, but is surprised at the look on Issei's face that shows understanding and even a desire to talk to her. "Guys, I know it may sound strange, but I'm in a loving relationship with Rias, Koneko, and Asia. And nothing that." Finished with some sorrow the boy, Rias being the one who looked the same at the way he said it. Kiba was the first to come out of shock and started clapping happily for everyone, being followed by Gasper, who looked genuinely happy. Azazel joins the chorus of applause with amusement at what he witnessed earlier, the embarrassed couple being the ones who couldn't keep their eyes on him because of his whistles and expletives alluding to the intimate moment he interrupted. Zenobia was anxious, remembering Issei's words of wanting to make a harem, the ones that made her want a chance there. Akino was surprised at everything and held a look on Issei's face of impatience that he noticed and gave her a reassuring smile to assure her that they would have their moment in the future. She understood and sighed in relief, hugging him unexpectedly to his surprise. "Will we talk about the same thing?" she still asked, unsurely. He laughed lightly as he noticed her attitude was the same as when he was with Koneko some time ago. "Maybe. Are we talking about playing marbles?" he joked as he feels her hitting his chest with her soft hands. "I'm serious," scolded the girl, embarrassed and shy, a look never seen on the girl in Issei's eyes. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the same thing." And just when everything can't get any better, the time to leave the place for the interview is immediately given. The walk is quiet. The girls can't help but look sideways at Issei, who has lipstick-marked kisses all over most of his face and a full head of tangled hair. Rias was going to take them off for a moment until she noticed how his happiness was so framed that she decided to leave the matter ignored. That's why everyone's gazes hit him as he was on Ria's left side. Then they all see a man approaching with 11 people behind. "Org. I guess it was our turn to share the studio then." Rias speaks with a smile that is impossible to hide and unintentionally infects his cousin, who notices Issei's appearance. "Have you been interviewed yet? Because I don't want to be cheeky when I highlight your boyfriend's misaligned appearance," acknowledged the man with amusement. "I had a good fight back there. I almost got eaten," responds to the joke the boy with total sass and amusement as he points a thumb behind his back. Org, as well as part of his and Ria's entourage, let out some involuntary laughs. They all understand the context of those words, and their intentions to lighten the mood are extremely helpful. Rias and the women in charge are embarrassed, despite the amusement of the whole affair. "You were already interviewed?" queried the redhead to regain the previous topic, despite the blush on her face. "Not here apparently, but it will be now. By the way, I saw your match." Rias raises an eyebrow at this, waiting for his assessment. "No matter how much power you have, you'll lose if you get stuck. Your goal will be to start lightly with full powers. Above all else, there are a lot of unknowns in his sacred gear. We don't know what's going to happen and what you can do. Compatibility is also important in the game. I learned a lot of things from the fight between Sona Citri and you." However, his hand is gently positioned on Issei's shoulder, this gentleness being the one that sinks it slightly, denoting the man's involuntary and controlled strength. Everyone watched Issei, who smiles calmly plus looks at him with some seriousness. "I really want to face you with all my might." The man receives the other's ambition and his smile turns into an expression worthy of a response. "Same here," he acknowledged. "Being honest, I totally yearn for our fight to be something that encompasses history if possible. I hope I don't disappoint you. Sarior denies, and that reassures Issei for thinking that maybe he would ruin something in this whole situation. If you answer me like that, there's no way you'll disappoint me. I've already seen that you've changed a lot since the last time we met. I hope and you'll continue to do so if you want to reach the top. Same here then. May you be strong, don't let your pride or your confidence hold you back. I take that fully into account in my life. I hope and have a good evening everyone. We'll be seeing you, Rias, Hyoto Issei, Ria's entourage. Well, it feels good to have witnessed this, but this is as far as I go with you. I have other business as I will be announcer of the future party and I have to arrange a few things. Azazel said to disappear around the corner. No one was strange about it anymore and it was even routine. The funny thing was that this time he did it with an explanation. Issei sighed solemnly and everyone looked at him. Seeing that they were looking at him, he explained. Azazel-sensei feels indebted to me about Rainier. It's obvious he wants to talk to me about it, but he doesn't know how to approach it. Issei decoded to everyone's surprise. Did he notice? Rias wondered, shocked by the situation. She could never imagine an Azazel feeling guilty about anything. He was there the day Koneko helped me recognize my problems. The day we ran away. Koneko explained more easily. I don't remember what he had said or if he had even said anything, but he was a witness to the issue for sure. With a fallen being the cause of my current life under his command, he more than certainly feels responsible for what happened. I must talk to him about it. But I think it is important to talk it over among all of us, as it is a subject that affects those in the know. Whatever you decide, Issei-san, we will accompany you. Asia offered her support, her words being accepted by all. Then I will be in your care. I just hope and what you want to tell me isn't something hard to digest. Not until a short time ago that I've been struggling with this. After finishing the walk to the studio, they were introduced to the announcer, as well as demonstrated to the spectators who would be inside the venue to witness the event. The Asper finally let out his stage fright and Issei reached for Kaneko's hand for courage, which was quickly returned. One of the staff managers approached, looking for something in particular, catching the group's attention. Are Kiba Yugudo-san and Hajime Akino-san here? Ah, that would be me. I'm Kiba Yugudo-san, and I'm Hajime Akino-san. I think you two will have a good number of interview questions. You're both rising in popularity. Kiba-san has more and more female fans, while Akino-san has more and more male fans. Issei murmurs without surprise, more pleasing recognition. They are both the most attractive of the group, it's only natural that they were the most considerate. His gaze meets Akino's, denoting some uncertainty in him that she reassures with a smile. You have nothing to worry about. I only have eyes for you, Aiz-kun. So I'm not going to see someone else. I hope and our talk won't be too late. She explained as she took both of his hands and looked at him fondly, same that was returned by him, giving him a look that reminded him of the pending talk. Kaneko retrieved her accompanying hand almost instantly as the current hybrid released it, making her laugh at the feline's reaction. Oh, I forgot about that. He acknowledged as he held his chin and looked at all the angles of his face. And since we take the group for granted, I must assume you are Hayato Issei-san, right? I'm sorry I can't tell you apart, you are usually quickly recognized by your armor. You will have a separate interview due to the fact that you became famous for being the Chichiruite. He stammered, dumbfounded. No one could help but choke back laughter at his expression of surprise and even some concern. You've become very popular among the children. It seems you have been called Oppai Dragon among the children. You shouted Oppai in the match against Citri, didn't you? That was broadcast during noontime in the underworld, and it became very popular among the children who watched it. No more, no less. That said, D-Drag was the one who couldn't contain himself and began to sob abruptly, being noticed by his companions at the hand caressing the back of his left. It's all right, D-Drag. I'm sorry for being a hopeless pervert. I promise I'll sort this out, swore the boy with honest concern. It sounded like the dragon had taken severe damage from what he had heard. So a secret? Sorry, Rias. Apologized as he left the curiosity stinging in everyone at the situation where he was asked what his interview was about. What worries me of all is D-Drag. He was damaged by this situation, poor guy. I hope he can work it out. Maybe I should talk to Sensei about it. He was crying inconsolably with every question. You care about him? Kaneko acknowledged in his lap with a soft smile. He couldn't help but return it with some weariness. How could I not? Without him, I would never have gotten to where I am. I owe it all more to him than anyone else. Ara, you should give yourself credit, Issei-kun. Despite his power, all the effort is yours. And I've kept that in mind ever since I became a demon. I never stopped thinking about it. He finished as he closed his eyes and folded the fingers of his hands in Kaneko's lap, adjusting his grip unconsciously, embarrassing her pleasantly when she felt her butt colliding with the boy's crotch. Rias lost her smile briefly. She understood that with him was the only way Issei entered the supernatural world. The only way he would have caught her attention, since it was thanks to that weird feeling she felt that time that she sent Kaneko to follow him and thus discovering that he was dating Rainier. She noticed though that she wasn't the only one to notice it, as Issei even noticed the self-deprecating comment that gained everyone's attention. It seemed that some marks of his problem had not gone away. However, no one could say anything when the door opened and all eyes went to the young blonde-haired girl who entered. This one looked everywhere, searching for someone. His eyes Sama here. Sama, the brown-haired man mentioned, intrigued, as he opened one eye and looked at the newcomer. Ravel Phoenix, what brings you here? Rias was surprised at her arrival. More such words made her notice that Issei was resting with the redhead and the blonde by his side. Akino was in a chair behind these, hugging the boy's head, followed by Koneko in his lap, which annoyed her. This is a cake. My second older brother has a TV show in this studio, so I came to give this to you, since I had time. Given the kindness, Issei is quick to see the newcomer spread out a basket, and its interior surprises him to see an impressive chocolate cake inside. You made this? The boy asked, impressed. Why yes, of course. I'm confident since it's easy. And I promised I'd make you a cake. At the party of the young high-class demons, Ravel showed her kind intentions to Issei, despite the fact that Issei didn't understand why she wanted to be friends with him. Thank you, he thanked honestly with a slight smile. But you could have done it to me when we got together for tea like I promised. He reminded her, making her understand that he remembered the conversation between the two of them. I'm not going to do anything to upset you. You have a match coming up against the House of Asteroth, don't you? So don't waste your time. But I thought maybe I could give you a cake. You should be grateful. Her attitude suddenly became haughty, which is why Koneko doesn't disguise her frown. Issei ignores that and quickly looks at Kiba, who smiles and nods at the mute request. I am just going to leave it here then. Wait a second. Taking the newly created knife, Issei cut part of the cake and devoured it nonchalantly. The sweet taste made recognizable by his tasty expression and the tasty rumble in his throat. It's delicious, Ravel. Thanks for bringing it, I'm going to eat it at home. Acknowledges and thanks the boy as he bites into another piece. I don't know when I'm going to see you again, so I thought I'd give you my feedback for the actual taste of the cake you plan to make when we drink tea another time. I'd also like to have a soda with you so we can chat about. However, he stopped, concerned, when he saw that Ravel had tears in her eyes and her face was red all over. Sama, for the next match, I'm going to be cheering for you. After Ravel said that, she formally said goodbye to everyone and left the scene quickly, leaving the boy totally confused about what happened. When he looked at Rias, he was worried about her dark aura. Then to Koneko, being the same. He didn't even bother to look at Asia as he sensed her annoyance. Should I ask if I did something weird or wrong? He asked to Kiba with utter concern, and Kiba smiled with some tension, denying. Issei nodded and then swallowed deeply at the rise of said auras. In the end, he was always getting in trouble, and said trouble landed him in front of Akino. For now it is his turn to arrange things with each other. Both are in the subway pool, thinking how to approach the situation while floating in the water between peace, eroticism, and sensuality. Except that of the latter they had nothing with their attitude of shy teenagers who hardly knew how to communicate. Ayis-kun. Why yes, I'm a pervert. He clarifies first and foremost and earnestly, something that makes her smile for quickly putting who he is before her. But I don't want you to think that my current relationships are on that basis. I know, she confirms calmly. Despite the fact that we haven't even dated yet, you've always been a gentleman to me. And for the record, you never laid a finger on me, even when I let you. That and because I wasn't quite right mentally. He mutters with a grimace as he remembers the fear he had of her every time she teased him about her sensual implications. Is it okay with you if we start from a date? After this battle? That way we'll have a chance to get to know each other and also confess to each other what we are. We don't know each other very well, and I know there's a chemistry between the two of us, but I want this to be official, proper, and super careful. For you, for me. It's okay, she would wait long enough, for she trusts that everything will be alright. How good it feels to be fresh. In the changing room of the large bathroom located in one of the basements of the house, Issei is drinking fruit milk after a bath after going to train following his talk with Akino. But, equally, I never thought this renovation would happen while we were sleeping. He recalls with some trepidation at how quiet and efficient they were. And how could he not be incredulous? The building was now 6 stories high and had 3 basements. The second subway floor had a large swimming pool. He sighs, unceremoniously thanking Rias and her family, since apart from being responsible for this, they are so kind to give him gifts like this for his hard work, and their pre-established relationship since he even knew about it. However, Issei is feeling it. His current physical state is justified, but something has been going on with his body since he started changing with Koneko by his side. His body works a lot harder in training, and he's even considered the fact that he feels more powerfully strong. He had destroyed the frame of a room by spinning around grabbing onto it to get out once without having wanted to. He wanted to ask Ddraig about this unchecked strength, or even his immense power that wells up when he brings out his armor. But Ddraig had been starting to have sleep collapses, probably from the trauma of the mocking title he was given on television and from which he struggles to fix. Leaving the refrigerator, he made his way to the first basement. There was the movie room and the training room. Since he was admiring the house, he couldn't help but set about touring it with pleasure. His surprise settled when he saw that the door to the training room was open. Upon inspecting its interior, he noticed Zenovia brandishing a wooden sword with the intention of practicing. She is wearing a training outfit, and this one waves the sword with utter seriousness and refinement. Issei acknowledges the girl as she sees him peeking out from the doorway. This one fidgets, stammering a clarification. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, it's just that the lights were on in the room, so I stopped by to check inside. He sighed as he acknowledged his attitude after Zenobia didn't say anything to him about it and coughed to reassert himself. It was still hard to let go of his nervousness with some women. Practicing. Yes, since the game is coming up. Despite the fact that we have the strategy worked out and practiced. However, you train quite a bit before dawn. He commented seriously, making it understood before her that this one had noticed that she was training twice as much as she usually did on a daily basis. I am weaker than Kiba, after all, she acknowledges with feigned calmness as she averts her gaze to the side. Issei understands that look, he has been a member of Ria's entourage a few months ago and was the weakest of them all until he managed to reach his balance breaker. He worked hard to reach his current level, training with more fervor than the rest to better himself going forward and catch up to or surpass anyone. Part of it because of the responsibility he felt that Rias and Asia had suffered greatly because of him. Currently, he doesn't know how many he surpasses, nor does he care, as his motivation remains to protect those he cares about. However, Zenobia omitted important things. The first time they faced each other, she overpowered Kiba. This changed since her sacred gear awakened as she reached her demonic sacral sword level. Even in the previous match, Kiba proved that he could use Durandal better than me. As for simple talents, Kiba is more talented than me. She admits, to finally stop feigning inferiority. The way I see it, you need to stop comparing yourself to Kiba. That will only limit you and cause you to reduce your ability. You're amazing just the way you are. Just believe a little more in yourself. To be honest, when I first started in this, I couldn't keep up with anyone in the group and I was just a hindrance that provided support. Or I didn't even do anything and just struggled to stay out of the way. And those were life and death situations. Zenobia listens attentively, but you can tell that in her interest there is no encouragement to feel identified. Issei smiles, as he feels it is similar to when he was always supported when he failed. She didn't need words of support, she needed practical example. After all, they were both equally hard-headed when it came down to it. That even more reason for me not to forgive myself for losing in the previous match, doing nothing. That's why I'm training, so I won't let my guard down anymore. In the match against Citri, Zenobia lost to Tsubaki, who was carrying a counter-type sacred gear. In terms of power, Zenobia was superior, but the timing and a fight of attrition between them were bad in combat, so she lost to her opponent in the face of Zenobia's inability to land a hit on a reflective object. No matter how awesome the power we have, I realize that there are many ways in which we can become defeated. He explains bitterly, solving the game with pure power, it seems to be the easiest for most. However, especially in the game, it is a team battle, so instead of having one strong person, we have to cooperate so that person A's ability plus person B's ability complement each other. The path to becoming a high-class demon sure is difficult. He sits down and sighs as he realizes that the mind is beginning to be necessary for his future. Something not hard to understand since he was improving a lot in that field, but something that discourages him for knowing that he must grow as fast as possible so as not to be left behind. Do you want to become Demon King, Issei? She queries with great interest. He notices and raises an eyebrow at this, not understanding where the conversation was going. No, I was never interested in that ruling and political stuff. He answers quickly, more he knows it's a vague answer because his tone of voice makes him sound resigned, almost as if he knows there are a lot of people who have broad expectations of him. Why are you asking so suddenly? In the future, you said you'd settle down as a high-class demon to have a harem. Yes, well, the harem thing we can say happened before. He comments graciously, grateful also because now he wouldn't be alone. But the freedom and the demand to be able to live like a high-class demon have become very tempting to me. He confesses with a smile full of illusion. Asia said she will follow you. Well, she's my girlfriend. We promised each other that we're going to be together forever. He confirms with some sorrow, something that makes her feel comfortable. She wants to follow me, and despite the fact that I told her to have her own ambitions, she's willing to go along with me until she has her own. He stares at her and, oddly enough, feels a familiarity in the way she looks at him. The latter, noticing the fixation, snaps out of her trance and is quick to be firm. Take me along with Asia as well. She asks with utter seriousness that throws the boy off completely. Why do you want to come with me? He asks as matter-of-factly as he can recover while he feels his brain wants to make him understand the real reason, something he denies and prefers to confirm. It would be so much fun to be with you, Issei. She confirms with a beautiful smile that relieves the air he had hopelessly contained inside him. I understand. Funny, he murmurs with a sigh at such surprise. I'll think about it, but I promise you an answer in the future. Yeah, I hope you do it in a positive way. It doesn't have to be right now. Because of that promise, Issei now can't help but think about the future. Between building his life as the future and his surroundings, where his present is shaped by his girlfriends, he must prepare himself. And in the face of that barrage of thoughts, is that he doesn't notice Zenobia finally acting as she wanted. Somehow, talking to you makes the nervousness inside me disappear. That reminds me. By the time he realized it, the girl's lips are pressed on his cheek, surprising him. It's my gift to you. Should I give one to your lips next time? She clarified and rambled as she saw the boy's red face barely reacting. Foo. then I'm going to rest for today. And, just like that, Issei was left alone in the room with his hand covering his cheek. Am I adding another one to the list, or what the hell was that? Silence. Everyone was looking at each other, ready for anything. Most looked to Issei's back, as he is the one who is focused on total strength of the plan they have formulated. His serious gaze on his hands rises to meet that of the rest as he turns around, just as the club's antique clock begins to chime as it strikes the appointed time. It's time. Let's get ready for anything. The opponent, Diodor Astaroth, the noble house where the current Beelzebub came from. They didn't know what powers he had other than those of his bloodline, but they knew full well that he was capable of cheating and relying on foreign magic that would allow him to go after his enemy on his own, regardless of how much demonic power each had. The arrival at the sanctuary makes its presence known. The division of everyone is ready, and it is then that the plan is executed. Balance breaker. The red armor makes an appearance, but, to the surprise of many, the power that flows from it is abnormally superior to the previous time he had used it in practice. Unfortunately, it is not possible to ask about it because trouble is headed to the front. Magic teleportation circles appear in front of them, indicating the expected. Issei orders Rias, and this one does not let so doubt and delays in complying with the order. Those are not Astaroth symbols, which we estimate could happen. Be alert. I was hoping to unleash myself against that scum earlier, but it seems he's too cowardly to deny a direct confrontation without the support of the Chaos Brigade. He declares without delay to take flight and position himself in front of the army in front of him. His hate-filled statement makes some feel worried for him. I'll hold fire head on. Get out of here, I'll buy you time. I'll see you later. Everyone is uneasy due to the difference in powers. Among the 100 enemy demons now present, numerous were upper and middle class. However, Issei soon sets out to fight, which sends Issei and Koneko into despair for even having time to ask him to take care of himself. Rias and Akino can keep their composure, but their expressions don't say they are calm at all. Kiba is the one who refuses to take different actions in this situation and forces them all to move towards the church, where Diodora would probably be. Diodoraa. Where are you, Trash? It is the brave battle cry of the chestnut who started fighting with all his strength. No one turns back, feeling concern for the boy but not detracting from his trustworthy action. Concern that quickly stops when they realize that next to them is running an old man on his back. No doubt this Sekyute is more brave than the previous ones. However, that evil aura is a problem. By the way, beautiful butt. More than that, the curves of the young lady sure are irresistible. Rias and Akino, being the closest to him, quickly covered their skirts as they were embarrassed. Their angry looks were noticeable as they recognized who this man was. Odin-sama. Rias mutters with a certain twitch in his eye. Could you stop looking at our panties and help Issei? Who? The man smiles in amusement, stroking his beard as he pauses, which everyone mimics. Looking at the distant battle, everyone shudders as Issei riddles multiple demons with pure physical violence, demonstrating impressive flexibility and power. His evasion of magical attacks was far from perfect, but that was complemented by armor that, while suffering significant damage, withstood everything. Whereas Diodora shouted this one with pure hostile motivation as he punched everything in his path. His aura grows brutally at his words, generating more and more power in his wrathful strength. That boy is undoubtedly upset. I think it's not hard for you to understand that Diodor Astaroth has joined the Chaos Brigade and has been allowing them to modify the game. The committee of it and the different factions are cooperating to take care of them. For now we only know the fact that the young man allied himself with the ancient Demon King's faction behind the shadows. Due to his alliance, he must have received the Serpent of Off-Eyes, which resulted in his sharp increase in power. The playing field is covered by a large magical barrier. No doubt this demon bloodline is highly capable of much if it reaches an unhealthy level of power. However, it is weak in relying on its conjurer, in this case, Diodora. So, how did he get in here? Rias consulted, not taking her eyes off her pawn, who was fighting bravely. Nor did she notice that her entourage did not wait for orders to attack from a distance, offering support to the boy. When I gave one of my eyes to Mimas Brunner, I became familiar with these kinds of demonic powers, magics, and other spells. The same applies for barriers as well. The old man displayed a kind of crystal eye before her, and, as he placed it on it, magical cards glowing in the depths emerged at great speed and magnitude. Tell your boys to stand back, the man ordered, which Rias was quick to say. Everyone, we're getting out of here. Issei was about to argue, when a brutal magical laser impact wipes out everyone to his left. Horror circulates in him and he quickly recoils as he watches the main Norse god slam his staff into the ground, allowing the shots to reflect quickly and none of them a potential danger. Ho, ho, ho. I almost got you with my Gungnir, young dragon. Be careful next time. Damn old fucker, you almost cooked me. Nor hesitates to exclaim the boy as he deactivates his armor and shows himself between exhausted and sore from the various attacks that were able to get past his defense. Will you need a hand with this? Despite praising this kid's work, I just realized that this isn't his doing. There was no way he was going to stop me from destroying it. I wonder who created it. He wondered as he rambled on, ignoring the boy completely. By the way, Azazel told me to give this to you. Get out of here, I'll cover for you. And calm down, kid. Try not to get too angry or there will be serious trouble. You evolved in a forced way and you are growing too fast because of," warned the man as he watched them flee the scene. He sighed, hoping they had heard that last one. "I apologize, I'm leaving this place to you," Rias exclaims in the distance. This one just waves his hand in greeting, ignoring the continuous gunfire that embraces him. Upon entering the shrine, Issei was the first to collapse with exhaustion. Asia quickly came to treat his wounds, which he was grateful for by stroking her head. Koneko did not even hesitate to approach, taking one of his hands to prevent him from falling asleep in any possible case, supplying senjutsu as she could to give him the necessary replenishment to fight again. Uncertainty is in everyone as they watched him replenish himself with overwhelming speed. Did Issei have more power now, having sacrificed another body part without them having known? Or were there other unknown motives? Knowing full well how slow he had grown, it was impressive to see such strength in him so quickly. It was as if he had abruptly reached another level, as if he had stood before a whole new staircase. You could feel it. Unstoppable. "Rias-sama, what's next?" Kiba reacts for everyone and asks for instructions. She understands that she must return to her role. Then she would have answers. "Can you hear me? I am Azazel." Azazel. Rias acknowledges with surprise at how the device appeared to be an earpiece. "Just as you reported some time ago, the party was taken over by the Chaos Brigade. However, we were already aware of the situation from before and are facing numerous rebel demons. Great job you have done in discovering Deodora's environment. All his collaborators outside his entourage have been arrested before their time." Everyone looks at Issei and he can't help but laugh with some embarrassment at everyone's admiring looks. Regarding the increase in power, it is known that he has taken power from Off-Eyes, most likely from the same method as Catlea Leviathan, whom I faced when we decided on the alliance meeting. Issei's bloodlust grows and everyone notices it as he stares down the hallway leading to the temple where the enemy should be. His hatred for Deodora was fully ready to lash out at anyone in his path. "Guys, I'm totally sorry for what happened. I had prepared everything to get you out of the game as soon as it started, but then you were locked in a barrier made by a Longinus carrier. The dimension loss generates a barrier that is easy to get into but almost impossible to get out of. So, until we solve everything from here, leave everything in the hands of the adults." "No, I can't allow that." Looks go to Issei. Helplessness fully reflected in his enraged expression, Koneko quickly hugs his arm, trying between calming him down and gaining his attention. Although she succeeds, he doesn't let his intimidating aggression towards Deodora diminish. "Nothing will happen. Gift powers or no gift powers, me and D-Drake will get through this. Sensei, I can't let him go. I can't allow that even if Asia is safe from his claws, he wanted to walk all over the rest." Reinforces his position the chestnut with utter annoyance afloat. "I cannot allow everything he said and did to be taken for granted, for Asia, for D-Drake. For me, damn rebellious brat." Azazel mutters in annoyance after a sigh. "All right, I don't think it's necessary to remind them to go with all their might then, but, especially Issei, watch out." Already with said confirmation, the chestnut-haired man started walking towards the inside of the temple, worrying everyone for his safety to where he was going on his own. Issei Naya. Koneko tries to get his attention, only to notice then that he was on the right track and didn't seem lost. "I sense your aura and scent. I memorized them when you came to the club," he reveals with a calmness unusual for him. "It's at the bottom of this place, at the very top. You won't find me." The loudspeaker transmitting Deodora's voice with confidence and amusement was quickly devastated by Akino. They all looked at her, noticing in her a worried expression towards the back of Issei, who was still moving forward calmly and fists clenched tightly. Two girls emerge from the nearby pillars, getting in the way. All but the chestnut stop with intentions of confronting them. "Stop, you dirty dragon. Go to sleep forever," reveals the aforementioned, poisoned with anger reflected in his irritated and sharp eyes, just evading a punch from the enemy, giving straight a combo of uppercuts straight to the stomach of the tower that couldn't escape and much less expected the swift counterattack, sending it out of the temple through the wall it destroyed with it and maybe a few kilometers away. "Fucking piece of shit," the other rook exclaims in despair, flinging herself towards its back. But before anything else, Koneko punched her full force to the face, sending her far enough away for her to evaluate her actions. However, to her mistake, Issei never stopped advancing and was right in front of her. Before she could defend herself, her head hit the ground as she was buried by him, then kicked out of his way, generating a trench from the woman's head that they could all be sure she had died by the way her body was left, generating all the weight on the buried head. Rias was really worried about him and his current temperament. It was then that they all watched as the 8 pawns ran straight towards them. Given Issei's mental state, Zenovia and Koneko didn't hesitate to get in their way, quickly confronting them. Kiba quickly tried to intercede so that they would not confront his friend, knowing perfectly well what would happen to them, and like any gentleman, he wanted to spare them. One threw herself at him, being avoided very swiftly as soon as he showed a cruel smile. Her great dexterity in avoiding each physical attack of the girl was surprising to more than one when even another one joined in. He moved with sublime ability, evading every attack and even avoiding the impacts of the swords with his gauntlet. Zenovia took out one of her opponents and proceeded to intercede on another just as she was planning to take on the chestnut. "Zenovia, change your stance. She wants to cut off your leg," he assured as he averted his gaze for a second on his companion. Thus everyone recognized that Issei was using Bailing, taunting the three girls who were practically facing him. When one of them seemed to show fatigue in the face of the attacks, he prevented her from being able to retreat by grabbing her arm, then kicking her face violently, sending her against the wall. Another wanted to give him a hook, being avoided with speed, enough for the smiling Issei to grab this arm with his head and neck. His arms pressed in the opposite direction to this one, splitting it. She screamed, but her partner accidentally hit her in the face just as she tried to hit the chestnut, and he used her as a shield. "Go sleep with her," he muttered, touching both of them with his hands, leaving a mark that quickly disappeared. That's when he snapped his fingers with an unusually annoyed expression. "And now, for good measure, receive this. Break all." "What?" murmured one when she noticed what happened, before freezing as she felt excruciating pain over her body. A red glow washed over them, destroying their clothes and causing them to scream in agony as all trace of power from them disappeared, their skins being noticeably scorched, unable to defend themselves from such an ability. Koneko watches with some concern as Issei managed to turn his trademark dress break into a powerful ability. "Partner, I think I should remind you that you're very angry, and that your view of these women is distorted. I won't interfere, but I do intend to remind you that you can end up committing something crazy if you lose control around your friends." Issei seems to hear that, sighing and apparently relaxing at Drake's harsh words that reminded him of his former condition. "I can't get rid of her no matter where I go, huh?" He mutters in annoyance as he realizes his attitude. "I guess there's no time to negotiate with Azazel for a talk about this anymore. No, not about this, at least." It is then that everyone sees two bishops and the queen approaching with clear intentions to stop them. Issei didn't feel in any condition to fight with them, being that he blinks several times so he can't see their faces. Koneko doesn't even hesitate to approach him close enough to hug his hand. "We were waiting for you, Rias Gremory-sama," declares the rival queen as she prepares to fight. Aura, then I'll go." Akino comments with a certain elegance that is not at all so to one who knows her. "Leave this to us. I'm perfectly confident that it will be easy to take care of the remaining knights." Rias affirms, getting in on the action as well. "Aura, but you. With me it will be more than enough. Besides, I want to impress my dear Issei. After this we have a date." They all looked at Issei expectantly, such that he was forced to avert his gaze and seriously think about his agenda for the future. Koneko squeezed his hand gently to remind him of her position, something that made him smile with amusement. "The order, I'm pretty sure you know it well, but I'll need your help to keep it from being repetitive and annoying." "Count me in. You always do." Akino, she confronts her king earnestly to remind her friend of the situation. "Even if you handle your holy lightning with greater ease, it doesn't change the fact that I want to. We should and would do well to avoid any potential harm." Issei's distraction to get here was an exception, but it's because we estimated an army with a lower level than it actually was. "I see. How about I define the quote around the success of this battle with the guideline of taking no damage?" mutters Issei with some amusement, imagining himself as an arrogant man covered in women at his pleasure and control. Koneko, of course, brought him back to reality with a stomp. However, the proposal had been heard by both ladies, who with extreme seriousness, prepared themselves with their powers bursting forth at maximum capacity to dispose of the threat with excessive speed. "Date with Issei to the temple. Date 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 with Issei to the temple," rambles Akino, totally out of her mind and with desire imprinted on her happy expression and the extreme electricity that enveloped her body. "Date with Issei to the manga store. Date 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 with Issei to the manga store." It is Rias who now rambles, but with extreme seriousness and determination, carrying in her palms as much power as she can accumulate. Issei watched this in horror, assuming the worst when it was Kiba who interfered to push him and the rest out of the way, a few steps away. "This is pathetic," the enemy queen exclaims in anger. "They're focusing on us like we're a half-path to a prize because of a lustful man." "Shut up, bitch," exclaims both of them, unleashing waves of power that quickly embrace their enemies, devastating the entire area in a second. And, of what was once there, only rubble in the full sight of the god Odin enjoying the massacre he was indulging in against the beings that were lashing out at him remained. Arriving at what seemed to be an altar, everyone got ready to wait for the nights that should come. It is then that Koneko and Issei follow the gaze to a certain corner. "You stink," declared the chestnut brown, drawing the attention of the rest, who turned their gaze to the corner. "Hey, Issei-kun, it's been a while." Revealed who, in front of everyone, appeared to be Freed, the former priest of the fallen angels of Kakabeel. "There's no night here," he comments with sinister amusement, being that Koneko showed an expression of pure disgust. "You have ceased to be human. Your aura is extremely different." "Oh, that's because I ate them, you hard-fisted cat." "Remember when you defeated me? Volley saved me and Azazel fired me. Then the Chaos Brigade offered you power." Understood the chestnut. "Naturally, they offered me power and transformed me into a chimera." The man's form began to mutate and quickly contorted into a putrid malformation that drifted into an unstable physical appearance. He had no balance, much less a comprehensible physiology. His face horrified Issei as he noticed that he resembled a dragon. You should be thankful you came here so cautious. Deodora has a fetish, you know. Each and every one of the women you just faced, all of them, were believers. Asia clings to Issei from behind. He, amidst the awkward silence of the group except for Fried's euphoric shouts, is unusually calm. It was frightening, as Fried himself noticed the calm coldness in his gaze. I love that cruel look in your eyes, Issei-kun. That's it. Hate it all. He loves to seduce believers, and thus subdue them to his hand with his lip, to then despair them when he rapes them. Hyahahahah. Issei's expression was so calm that it was utterly terrifying to try to decipher what his thoughts were right now. She doesn't regret saving him. This one commented normally, which made Fried burst out laughing. Don't you see how funny that is? She was unknowingly manipulated. He wanted her for himself. He wanted someone to see her heal him. He destroyed her life just on a whim. Isn't that fantastic? Issei, Asia. Riaz murmurs in dismay at the realization, the blonde overwhelmed, but not weak for understanding that thanks to that misfortune she had her current life. What Issei? I'm fine. Issei comments with a look so vacant that Fried didn't hesitate to mention it. Hyahahahah. You're upset. Very upset, Issei-kun. Will you freak out? You're so few steps away. Everyone's watching you. Come on, come on, come on down. Get angry, Issei-kun, and let that living anger inside you be reborn. Unleash it. Become a dark draw. Fried was unable to say anything as what was of his rotting body were now scattered pieces of powerful and swift slashes belonging from Kiba's sword, who intervened in the monster's words to stop him. No, to kill it. Anger, hate. That force will follow you forever, Issei-kun. You can't run away from it. You can't run away. Fried mutters as he pins his gaze on the chestnut as he realizes he's in his last seconds of life. Fuck all of you in hell. Issei began to move forward. Asia didn't know what to say about all that, what to say to the boy. Koneko approached her to give her strength, as did Zenobia, who did not hesitate to feel bad and cry all kinds of apologies for how cruel she was in the past. Akino was the one who watched Issei leave with concern. Issei-kun, where are you going? A black aura envelopes the boy. Out of the corner of his eye, seeing his face from the side, Akino manages to be overwhelmed by seeing his calm expression enveloped by such a dark and strong power. To kill him, just as I should have done from the moment I saw him. Issei advances up the stairs and the rest quickly follow him, worried about everything that was coming. With every step up the stairs, the heat in the area was growing. Or rather, with every step up, Issei was losing every one of his holds, his physical and supernatural strength slowly growing as his gaze remained calm. It was then that he reached the great gate and stepped through it. The shrine makes its way in front of the group who kept their distance from Issei because of the powerful heat his body emitted. Koneko grimaced as she noticed that they could even see him without feeling that absurd scale of raw power growing larger and larger. You're finally here, you dragon shit. The boy's calm gaze, going sidelong to him as he notices him coming out of a corner. Issei pauses, which worries the rest at what was coming. Deodora, I hate this, declares the malevolent demon with a sneer. You ruined my plans with Asia in the beginning, when you defeated that fallen angel, Rainer. He begins to spit, being that the mention of such a name caused Issei to clench his fists. A second time, now, when you came so prepared here, without any sense. And, now, when it's all over, here you are, unable to enjoy your despair. But, no matter, I know that now we'll end this all at once. And then I will rape Asia in front of your eyes as she screams your name. Explosion. Heat emitted from the surrounding area and blew the roof completely off. Everyone looked on in utter shock at how Issei remained still as his aura manifested with utter violence. Asia shouts to calm him down. Akino despairs, trying to get closer, unsuccessfully as the heat is so strong that part of his attire and arm were quickly burned when he tried to use it to cover her face. Koneko watched closely, expectant of everything. Riaz, on the other hand, was feeling dismayed at what to do. D-Drag, calls the boy, being that the second his armor fully manifested. Do it, partner, master these instincts. You can't easily fall for something you repudiate so much. Well, that's all I needed to hear, he declares as all the evil energy in him concentrated upon his armor. Magnificent. This is the Red Dragon Emperor. But my power is growing too. Thanks to the off-eyes snake, I can. Issei waits no longer, accelerating all of his armor's thrusters to end up impacting a powerful hook into Deodora's stomach. This first impact generates that the whole body of the demon twists, and, thanks to the strength of this one, it lifts him in flight a few centimeters, enough to give him an impact right in the cheek where he sends him flying with a punch to a wall. Koneko smiles as she sees that Issei's evil aura begins to diminish with each punch, dissipating more and more each time he hits him with the anger he had contained throughout the battle. This is pitiful, he mutters as he realizes the situation, noticing how Deodora was trying to recover from having broken bones and surely injuring many organs and muscles. So much hatred and anger for this. He scorns pitifully towards the demon who, through tears of pain and anger, demonstrates the clear damage to his pride. Horror at the sight of the snake of pure energy on the ground, quickly trampled by Issei who, with his black aura, turns it to ashes. Now Off-Eyes won't be here to save you, you scum. NOOO. I am Deodora Staroth. I can't lose to reincarnated trash. Generating a great layer of energy, Deodora prepared to launch an attack on the Gremory group that was prepared to confront him. However, he didn't give the time and Issei stepped on his hand with all his might, breaking it, making him scream in pain. Enough, the chestnut ordered calmly, kicking him then against another wall. Get up. From the rubble, Deodora looked up at the chestnut in legitimate terror as he approached him. His power was gone and he now stood before a monster that proved in short order to be superior to him. Get up. He orders again, now with not only insistence, but contempt. I molded all this hatred and anger, and you were provoking me all this time, only for a ridiculous conclusion. It's disappointing to say the least. Deodora becomes upset at the humiliation, making a quick move to shoot energy from his hand straight into Issei's face. To his misfortune, the chestnut is a hell of a lot faster and splits his other hand, grabbing the demon's energy and hand with his gauntlet with total tranquility and security, flattening both until he hears his enemy shriek. The latter curls up like a child, crying in pure fear. That's enough. This is more than enough, Issei mutters, letting go of all the remaining dark aura he had, as well as his armor. Issei, won't you finish him off? Zenobia asks, enraged and filled with anger. Her sword trembles from the force of the grip, the same grip that represents the guilt she feels for how the church turned its back on Asia and how, she too, was turned into a monster before the faithful. What if she approaches Asia again? It's better if I cut the problem off at the root. Issei's gaze is serene. He understands her emotions because, well, they are the ones he felt until he got there. But now, what else could he do? There was no way whatsoever that Deodora would ever be a threat again, knowing that he got rid of the snake inside him. Analyzing it further, there was the political issue. Don't misunderstand, Issei doesn't give a shit about all that and could care less about the paperwork of the matter. However, I totally understand you, Zenobia. Honestly, he's only alive because of the fact that since he's part of the Mao Beelzebub's family, it's the best thing to take him to the authorities. I'm sure that if he died, the investigation and any way to talk about responsible or accomplices in his family would be much more complicated. Not to mention that it would complicate Mao Lucifer and, consequently, Rias. So, while I won't stop you, I ask you to reconsider the situation. Everyone is shocked at his words, making Rias and Koneko smile, utterly proud of him. Zenobia is overwhelmed at his words, but sighs in surrender, putting Durandal down with resignation. All right, if Issei says this, then I'll stop. She smiles respectfully at him. This one nods, facing the defeated enemy again. Surely you would have been a dangerous enemy if I had given you time and not removed that snake inside you. Acknowledges the chestnut confidently, then looks at him with extreme firmness. Surrender and submit to the authorities, Deodora. I am no longer angry, just disappointed that a monster like you has been a threat to Asia, and even because of that I have considered you an enemy to my family. Walking away towards his waiting group with a smile and calmness, now much more relieved to confirm that Issei was able to overcome his anger and mature even more. He is welcomed with open arms by everyone and finally embracing Asia, who cries as an outlet for discovering the truth that cost him his whole life in a certain part. This can't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't have gone like this. Deodora exclaims after recovering from his previous state, hurt both physically and morally, resembling his tantrum like that of a child. You'll pay for this. If I use all my strength in this blow, I know I'll hurt with confidence. Fuck it all. If I die, I'll take you with me, you fucking piece of shit. He doesn't hesitate to charge projectile energy into his hand as Issei turns around to face him, stretching his arm out to the side in sign towards the retreating group. They understand that he wants to take care of business, which is why they give him the go-ahead. Fine by me. I offered you a chance, I guess it won't be an option then. It will be a submission, warns the chestnut as the darkness of his aura returns, concentrating on his arm as numerous boosts charge in seconds. This is what you're up against, you inept knucklehead. This is the strength of the current Red Dragon Emperor on the scanty one that embraces you. D-Drag, let's show him what we're made of. Go ahead, partner. Crush him. Bring it OOON. Both shots are finally launched and their concentration makes them collide, the difference in levels being so great that Issei's overcomes Deodora's, fading it and passing by the demon, who cannot help but howl in terror at the devastation that occurs right next to him and that goes to the outside after leaving a huge hole in the sanctuary. Or what was left of it. It is then that the chestnut headed with his demon wings straight for him, slamming what was left of the wall next to Deodora with the gauntlet, devastating it and pulverizing all confidence in the demon instantly as he fell sitting down, utterly devastated. However, the pawn didn't let it go and grabbed him by the collar of his attire, lifting him up to the level of his face. Listen to me, you piece of shit. If I tell you to jump, you jump. If I tell you to surrender, you surrender. Added to all this, don't ever come near my family. None that I'm even close to or barely know. If I ever see your filthy face again, or you ever disobey me again, I intend to kill you in the slowest and most painful way possible, and then hang your remains on the Mao's door. As he waited for a response, he noticed that Deodora was totally lost between his tears and apparent fainting. His wet pants gave just enough indication for Issei to sigh and abruptly release him. Partner, his heart and spirit are totally crushed. This man, nay, monster, has ingrained the fear of dragons deep in his soul. That was more than enough. It seems that, even if I just observed normally, everything would be fine. Too bad we didn't estimate that an evil dragon might appear and even get stronger because of this idiot that have no use for me anymore. Theodora could barely mumble something when his body disappeared into particles because of an absolute light power. Everyone was overwhelmed to realize that such an ability did not match seeing a demon with such abilities enter the remains of the shrine. This was his mistake for letting himself be trusted. In the match against Agares, he used my borrowed power, without authorization, allowing you guys to predict it long before. That was his punishment for no longer being useful to me. I hope and do not disturb you, but, even being our first time seeing each other in person, I, Shalba Beelzebub, rightful successor to the original Great Mao, will follow the plan, with the obvious goal of getting rid of all the bloodlines of the current Mao. That girl and that machine are essential to. Before he could finish, the machine that appeared to be some sort of antenna was completely destroyed by a resounding explosion, the demon getting annoyed by Issei when it proved to be the cause. What? That thing. A powerful break all shattered it. Considering your intentions against the Glacia Labolas, Asteroth, Citri, and the Gremory. Riaz continues with caution, but some amusement at what his pawn has done. Not to mention that cute thing on your arm that gives you light power, notes the chestnut as he folds his arms with some confidence at the woman's side. How about we dialogue about it? Akino quickly notices Issei communicating with Ddrag to bring the armor as quickly as possible, which is why she can't help but buy him time. What's your endgame? Ending these lines can't be a benefit to anyone. Both sides would be losing essential demons like flies in such a crucial situation to protect themselves. We are many, Shalba assures. We have been generating practical ways and methods to reproduce demons on a large scale, and we have the power of off-ice to continue to hold this stance. As is evident, our plan ends in this defeat. I never expected that the boosted gear, a mid-level Longinus, could win in a situation of total advantage to the dimension lost, a high-level Longinus. This we did not anticipate, and, naturally, it is due to a high-powered user. In this case, a dragon that borders on descending into darkness. Fried mentioned that too. What does he mean? Assist Kiba in knowing more, to which Ddrag is finally forced to speak. Of something I've been dreading ever since the Nekomata confronted the trauma of my partner. Even though they have treated him, helped him, he cannot let go of the instincts of anger and hatred that were awakened and intensified by that fallen angel. And this has full effect on my carrier, as it is necessary to know that the deadly sins affect a dragon directly. That's enough, Shalba announces. I don't care if they don't know about the subject, they'll die in their ignorance. Let's get this over with. Sounds good to me. The breeze is he unexpectedly activating his armor and quickly flying towards Shalba. Riaz can't help but exclaim his name with concern, but Kiba is the one who is quick to seize the opportunity to move. Riaz-sama, please, we are under your care. I'll try to help Issei-kun however I can. It's hopeless, Shalba calmly declares as energy barriers try to get in the way of Issei, who has his red armor covering himself in black aura, granting him superior strength and speed, shattering each one just as it is created. Shalba is hit in the stomach, taking him completely off guard. Shalba, before he could react to noticing Issei trying to remove the device in his left hand, can't help but let out a groan as something seemed to pierce him. He noticed Kiba throwing numerous spear-like swords at both of them. The few that hit Issei didn't do anything to them thanks to his armor, bouncing off immediately. One even pierced his thigh, drawing his attention by how such an inner sacred gear proved to have the light ability to damage him. Issei, back off. Issei pulls back from the grapple and, breaking away, managed to keep Shalba still long enough for him to be forced to fend off Ria's attack with a barrier, successfully evading it without noticeable effort. Damn brats, feel the power of my lig. Huh, Shalba exclaims as he notices that his hand no longer holds the device he had, noticing that Issei was trying to place it on him, assessing it. Finally he gave up, tossing it to the group. You fucking dragon shit. Even when I double you in power, you still manage to be a nuisance. The demon complains as it worryingly increases its aura and shoots towards Issei, who quickly tries to evade it. However, divide, WH, and as usual, when least expected, Issei mutters with some irony. Suddenly, in what seems to be a cut in space, Volley and his team manifested in the area. The characteristic sound of his sacred gear interrupts the encounter by using his ability on Shalba's attack that almost reaches Issei, decreasing its range radius, just enough to allow the chestnut to avoid it. The terrorist looks utterly irritated by his appearance while Issei prepares for whatever it is. Volley, when I said you were changing, I didn't mean you were too eager to die at the hands of a guy with self-esteem issues, Hyoto Issei. Clarifies the silver-haired one with a confident smile. The aforementioned only sighs as he looks at him. It's not like I can choose it. For me, I just want to be at peace and enjoy an intense sex life. The chestnut mutters, at least loud enough for his savior to hear. However, Koneko can't help but hear it with her sharp ears, cringing in embarrassment at the strangeness of the rest of the group. You, Beelzebub is better than Lucifer, you damn dragon bastard. Hey, Hyoto, you want it, suggests Volley calmly and even exhaustedly. Are you kidding? He's all yours. Quickly retracts Issei without neglecting his armor, running after the group that calls for retreat in the face of the situation. Shalba then notices that Gasper had the device in his hands, infuriating him. Give it back, demanded the demon, throwing himself on them, being intercepted by Volley, who quickly sent him to the ground. Divide, divide, divide. divide. Even though I take the trouble to pay attention to you, you go and focus on such a stupid thing. It's pitiful, Shalba. Issei watched this from afar, remembering his right hand, the one that carried the stolen power that robbed him of years of life. Hey, D-Drag, what about the power we stole from Volley? Can I use it? Being honest, partner, I haven't the slightest idea. I've never been in such a situation in my life and, as far as I understand, we haven't tried it. Are you planning to do it now? WL. The chestnut mutters awkwardly as he watches the two demons fight fiercely. Honestly, it would be ideal to try right now, but since your enemy is dead, you have no interest to continue. Issei lets out a slight chuckle at the dragon's reading of her being. He can't help but smile as he realizes how easy to understand it was. That's why I like you, D-Drag. Concentrate on getting out alive. Suddenly, the surroundings seem to be about to warp, so Issei doesn't take any longer and picks everyone up in his arms as he abruptly embraces them. Accelerating his thrusters, he moves away from the remains of the shrine, seeing then in the distance how Odin rests on the rubble and the dead around him. He notices them and waves casually as he notices the group. Upon landing, they all turn to see the place crumbling fast before huge destructive powers hurled towards it, leaving remnants of nothingness itself where Volley and the ancient demon fought. You opposed your darkness, boy. Acknowledges the god at his side, drawing everyone's attention. No doubt you are a very special dragon. Never forget that. He compliments, which makes Issei feel strange. I guess I didn't oppose, I just remembered who I am. What I want to be. But, if for some reason I were to forget, you never will, Koneko states, gaining his attention. After all, we're here to prevent it. I knew you could control yourself, because no matter if it's even someone you hate for hours, you can't hate them any longer. That's the kind of person you are, Issei. The boy feels sensitive. He holds his heart, knowing that it beats intensely those words. He cannot contradict that, for he knows well that Koneko would refute against him all the time if necessary. And, knowing himself well from her weakness, Issei can admit it calmly. Koneko-chan is right. Asia acknowledges firmly. That's the person I fell in love with. The one who saved me from Rainer even when he couldn't do anything. Issei averts his gaze in the distance. If he'd had the chance, would he have saved Deodora from that lunatic demon? He shakes his head. That didn't matter anymore. I know there's a line I have to cross. Issei states, someday, there will be an enemy I have to kill, and I know I'm not ready for it yet. That's why. The brown-haired man took Ria's hand, and with that same hand he joined everyone's hands. Understanding what he wanted to exemplify, everyone smiled with affection. That's why. I'm counting on you guys to be able to lead me. I'm not yet ready to be a high-class demon even, which is why I need to keep moving forward, and I'm counting on you to go beyond what I can now. They all hug him, excited, and the boy smiles contentedly at that. Odin notices the deformation of the environment, seeing that the dimension they were in disappeared, returning them to the underworld where everything seemed to be about to end. Volley flies towards Issei and his group with his companions, gaining the group's attention. Shalba escaped, but I took an arm for his stupidity, explains the white-haired man, tossing said limb to an uninterested corner. Giving Issei a closer look, he squints his eyes slightly. You are succumbing to the judgment drive, Hyodo. You must learn to master your emotions or you will die horribly. Issei sighs. More than a lot of that nonsense he doesn't understand, but knowing it's a generous and important warning from Volley, he prefers to take it. I'll keep that in mind, replies the chestnut with a resigned smile. I guess I owe it to you to take care of Shalba. He got away. Anyway, it's time. Look up at the sky. They all turn, intrigued by his words, when they are overwhelmed to notice how a gigantic hole opened up in the sky, with a huge entity coming out of it to enter the underworld. What? Issei mutters, dumbfounded. This is what I was looking for before I came here, before your evil energy lured me in. In this world there are two red dragons, the one residing in your arm and this one, which was recorded in the parable of Revelation. Everyone looks shocked, unable to take their eyes off such a creature. He is the true red dragon god emperor, the Great Red. He is even called the true dragon, an entity that chose to live in the dimensional rift and wander in it for all eternity. That is what Offeyes came to confirm, and us accordingly. Shalba's activities were of no importance to us. And why does he do that? Offeyes wants to find that out. I want to defeat him. I don't know why the fuck I expected that answer. However, even with a dream like that, Issei mutters as he smiles cheekily with his hand miserably covering his amused expression. What's so funny? The white-haired man wonders, intrigued by his expression. But Issei denies, and before he answers, someone speaks up. Great Red, it's been a while. Silence will be mine soon. Suddenly, a girl appeared near them both. Although Issei didn't see it coming, he didn't get nervous as he sensed no homicidal intent against anyone other than the one in the sky. His hand gesture of simulating a gun and firing it at the winged giant gave Issei an epiphany. Hey, Volley, who is this girl? The chestnut-haired man asks curiously. Volley smiles bitterly at the answer he would give. Offeyes, she's Uroboros and also the leader of the Chaos Brigade. I see. He understands relatively calmly, which scares Biku because of how strange it was. That would explain the situation a bit. If she made this group, it doesn't make sense that she's offering her power to people who seek to destroy everything if there wasn't something she wants from them. or that she wants to destroy the world. Okay, for the record, Sekirute, now you really scare me, Biku states in utter horror towards the boy who only sighed and smiled with some regret. It's not my fault. I enjoyed it a bit more when I was so ignorant. Suddenly, everyone notices Azazel and Tannen approaching, lowering the ladder to an appropriate distance. They both approach calmly as they see everything finished. More, they stick their gazes almost fixedly on Issei, who can't help but sigh as he understands them. Azazel-sensei, old San, I'm fine. They both watch him with a bit more focus, smiling slightly when they see that he's not lying. Azazel practically sighs in relief at that, but disappointed at the same time. How annoying. I was hoping to try out the song I did with Surzech and Serafall. You would have loved it. Whatever you're doing, keep it away from my project. The moment you name boobs, I'll take away all permission for you to go near the set of the show. He warns Azazel seriously. Show. Out of nowhere they all jump in recognition, ruining the surprise on the part of the startled boy. Seized by volley, this one approaches Azazel. It is then that, when everyone asks for explanations from the overwhelmed chestnut, they return their attention to the girl who out of nowhere pays attention to Azazel when he speaks. Off-eyes, we have practically eradicated the faction of demons descended from the ancient demon kings. Even with just Xiaoba alone, there's no way in hell they have the same level of grouping as they did at the beginning. There is still the faction, apart from Volley's group, which is composed of descendants of heroes and sacred gears holders who did not have a good life. So, with this conclusion, shall we fight? Azazel points his staff at the girl and she just looks on with total disinterest. Something tells Issei that she is indeed powerful despite the unproven. I'm leaving. The answer pleases no one within the besieged group, which is why they prepare to go after her. Issei stands still, analyzing everything while the rest act. Tannen, the Dragon Kings will meet once again. That's interesting too, Off-Eyes explains along with a creepy smile as she disappears. And we'll be leaving too. With a drop on the back of his head, Issei notices how Volley is already going through some sort of dimensional rift created by the sword guy accompanying him. The latter looks at him for a second with some confidence. Hyoto Issei, do you want to defeat me? I'm in process. He replies calmly while looking at him. Anyway, I want to beat Kiba, Saji, Sarayorg. I have a lot of stepping stones to advance. Volley smiles even more with that answer, sure of something very important. You're growing progressively. That girl next to you has been guiding you a lot. Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm dating 3 girls. The number will go up after this, he explains calmly, generating a grimace from Volley. Oh, looks like you're not bored. Anyway, I have steps to go through too. And it's strange, despite our destined battle, we have dreams. We try to achieve them before we focus on this. We are strange carriers, Issei assures, and I think it's okay that we are. I mean, it wouldn't all be fun if we just did what we do before that, would it? That worries everyone a little at the expression of words. Issei seems to notice it, covering his mouth slightly as he acknowledges it. It seems that, at last, your dragon instincts are starting to peek through. Overcome them or you will succumb. We'll work out our own after all. See you, Dragon Oppai. Biku spits with amusement abruptly. Kiba Yudo-san, Zenobia-san, calls the guy with the sword, catching all the attention. I am a bearer of the royal sacro sword, as well as the descendant of Arthur Pendragon. Call me Arthur. One day, we will have a great battle. Farewell. Silence broaches the area as Issei stares into nothingness, thoughtful. His gaze firms a little and he sighs. Azazel takes an interest. Azazel-sensei, Rainer is no longer in my way, but she left a special problem behind. He reminds him, I know, I feel I need information, as well as from my peers, friends and family, to stay unified. He explains, just as Riaz hangs onto his back. I don't want to become a monster. Action that Koneko certifies with a hug to her left arm. Much less a murderer, to which Asia hugs the other arm. I see, acknowledges the fallen man with a relieved smile. Then I need not fear for your life. Surzech would have me hanging from his office doors, you know. I'll try not to worry anyone then. I'm trying to improve the patterns of them. Issei jokes, which relaxes the conversation. With the situation over, disaster struck. The assault stop was a success, to which numerous demons were arrested while others hid in the darkness of the rubble of the vanished faction. Except for the case of the Astaroth house, where their current leader was dismissed and it was forbidden that this house could beget a possible demon king in a couple of next generations. Thus it was also attempted to effect the current Beelzebub to take responsibility for the situation, being that he was also attacked in the incident. The loss of Adjika Beelzebub would be a fatal loss for the demons currently. His technological talent, as well as the creation of the rating games, are renowns that currently define the currently unattainable caliber of this person. Surzech's words, coupled with the defense of the other demon kings, reduced the tensions of such a situation. In the middle of the group, Issei caught the attention when he called out to Azazel before he left. Azazel-sensei, just a second. Tell me, Off-Eyes is looking to get rid of Great Red, isn't she? So, if we were to help her, wouldn't the terrorist group disappear? Azazel denies with amusement at the proposal and the disjointed expressions of everyone present. It has been theorized, and even certainly proven, that Great Red maintains a huge balance in the dimensions connecting to the dimensional rift with his presence alone. If he were to be killed, we would not know what would become of the world. None of this would happen if it had been the Off-Eyes of the past. But now that dragon has wandered this world for a long time, it has changed a lot since it first appeared. The incident itself with the rating games was also considered. The fact that they were sabotaged showed that there was more of a chance that it was going to happen. Oh, I almost forgot. Kids watch you a lot. The audience for this rating game had been full of kids. If you think about it like that, kids watching an adult entertainment, it just reveals that they have a source of admiration. The fight between you and Saji reached a lot of hits on the demonic network. The kids cheer a lot for you too. I see. And within a world full of hope, even monsters can accomplish much more. Even at that, things don't stay that way. There's still an extra step to go. Gunshots are heard in the air. Everything has turned out wonderfully, and although it has been a few days where there are still things to be resolved, everyone considered it ideal to rest from such a situation. Also because Akino enjoyed her infidelity kink so much and snatched Issei from between the hands of any of her girlfriends, which made them bold to confront her. But he knew he had to put his foot down at times. Issei had to get more and more into the world of women to get used to their unfamiliarity. The steady pace with Rias, Koneko, and Asia allowed everything to improve between the four of them. He decided to schedule days, organize activities, and come up with ideas that would improve the relationship for everyone, something they accepted without hesitation. Everything was looking bright. A new future awaited Hyoto Issei and his family. And with that conclusion to the story, the two passed the finish line with an overwhelming difference, achieving victory. But every happy ending can have a bad situation that accompanies it. We did it, Asia. I love you, Issei-san. And all at once, everything went to hell, Koneko exclaimed, infuriated by such a statement, that she was the one who loved him more and that they were together for longer. Which Asia didn't even hesitate to refute with that she should then shrink that difference by hugging the boy. Rias almost exploded. Had she not remembered where she was, she would have reaffirmed herself as the boy's girlfriend. However, her movements and attitude implied that, and more than one noticed it in her pout and repressed expression. Issei, on the other hand, was just praying that the earth would fade him away as soon as possible before half the world wanted to kill him. In the end, being king of the harem was a great challenge to say the least.